Year-old Charlie Hayes is suing his daughter, 37-year-old Carolanda Hayes, for money she took from a bank account set up by her grandmother.
Order, all rise. Judges, number 275 on the calendar in the matter of Hayes versus Hayes. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
I must tell you both that there is nothing sadder for a judge than seeing a family torn apart by money.
I totally agree.
Mr. Hayes, this is your daughter.
That's correct.
And as I understand this complaint, your mother, who is still alive, is that correct?
That's correct.
How old is she?
94.
Where does she live?
She lives with me.
How long has she lived with you?
She's been living with me almost 6 months now.
Where did she live before that?
She lived at 137 Baker Apartment 1.
And she moved in with you, why, sir?
Because she's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Now, you have power of attorney over all your mother's property recently acquired, is that right?
That's correct.
According to your complaint, your mother, during her lifetime, set up different CDs and bank accounts for her children and her grandchildren. You're one of the grandchildren.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, your daughter went to the bank and took out a loan against the CD that was in your mother's name in trust for her.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And she did so without your knowledge as the person with power of attorney over your mother's affairs. Why did you do that?
I went to the bank under my grandmother's consent. She told me to go get the interest that was on the CD.
When did your grandmother tell you that?
She told me, she was always telling me that, Carolanda, to help you and the kids, go get the interest on your CD, go get the interest on your CD. And I was like, no, because the interest was only $500. I was like, the $500 is not going to help me, Nana. She said, go to the bank and get your interest off your CD.
Okay.
So when I went to the bank,
When? Let her finish, sir.
when I went to the bank, the Great Western representative told me that you could take out a loan against your CD. You don't have to take out the interest. You can just go ahead and take out a loan for 90%.
90% of what was in the account.
Exactly.
And how much was in the account altogether?
Well, the original CD was for $10,000.
Okay. When you say the original CD, had it grown?
There was interest on it from Bayview Federal, where it was. It grown to, my grandmother had left the interest in there, I guess, a couple of times, and it was $10,900.
It was $10,900 when you took out this loan against it?
No, ma'am, it was only $8,000 by the time I got there to the bank.
It was $8,000. Now, how did the account read? What's your grandmother's name?
Nancy.
Nancy
Buckner.
Nancy Buckner in trust for?
No, it read Nancy Buckner, Carolanda Hayes, power of attorney Charles Hayes. Because by
Can I
this
see
time,
the way the account is written, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were told that you could take out a loan.
Right, for 90% of the CD.
Okay. And you did?
I didn't take out 90, I only took out 50.
So you took out $4,000?
Yes.
And you had to pay back the interest?
Exactly.
Did you do that?
No, because they told me that no payment was needed to be made until June, a year later. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to make any payment throughout the year. I could pay $20, $10, or zero until the next year.
Well, Mr. Hayes, this says that this account is in your name, Nancy Edwards, and Carolanda Hayes. That's her.
That's correct.
This isn't an in trust for account.
No, ma'am.
It was in trust until I moved it. It wasn't in Great Western.
I don't care where it was. Listen to me. This has 3 names on this account.
I realize that. Yeah.
That means anybody can do whatever they want with this bit of money.
I have.
You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you're suing her your daughter.
That's
I'm
correct.
going to find out why in a second, Mr. Hayes.
Because he's greedy.
For $4,497, which is, I assume, $4,000 that she took out, and the other $400 for some sort of interest. Is that right?
No.
What?
It's for credit card that she took out in my mother's name in Nordstrom's that she didn't pay.
I don't have that in the...
I have it here, Your Honor.
I don't care what you have there. I don't have it in your complaint, sir.
And I didn't know about this credit card because I
You don't have to address the credit card. It's not in his complaint.
Okay.
It's not in his complaint. It's not here, period.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
she took out $4,000, therefore you're suing her for $4,000. She can take out that money if she wants to.
Yeah, I understand that.
So why are you suing her?
I'm suing her because she didn't pay for it. She made no efforts to pay for it. Can I explain to you how this led up to this?
Sure.
She started off from the day that she graduated. My mother bought her a new car to graduate. From there, she went on to college. A couple of years later, she wanted to get married. She came home. My mother and I paid for her wedding. Came a little over $12,000. After her wedding, she moved on. After she moved on, a couple of years later, she wanted a divorce. She got a divorce. She moved on to Atlanta. In Atlanta, she got in a little trouble. She wanted to come home. She borrowed $3,200 to come home. She said she would pay for that.
Borrowed from whom?
From my mother. Then once she got here, she didn't have any money, so she needed a place to stay. So she borrowed another $1,600.
From whom?
From my mother.
When you say she... Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
When you say she borrowed the money, were you there when she spoke to her grandmother?
No.
No, I wasn't there, but by me being power of attorney, my mother explained this to me.
Just a second. When did your daughter take this money from your mother? How long ago?
That's been about 5 years ago.
And when were you appointed power of attorney?
1993.
So this all happened before you were appointed
Yes.
as power of attorney. So let me explain something to you, sir. I assume that you were given power of attorney over your mother's money because you say that she suffers from Alzheimer's. She can't take care of her affairs. Is that right?
Not only that, as that I'm the eldest. And
doesn't make any difference. Eldest. So she gave, with no notes, I assume.
No notes. This was
her
just
granddaughter money.
Correct. That's correct.
Good. That's what grandmothers do with their grandchildren.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wants all the money. He wants to take everyone's money, and he doesn't want to see us with anything. He wants to remodel his home, buy his Harley Davidson, his boats, and everything else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes is suing his daughter, Carolanda, because she took money from a bank account set up by her grandmother. Carolanda says the account was opened for her benefit and the money was rightfully hers.
Go ahead. So tell me some more. So she got into trouble. She came back. It's another $1,600. Go ahead.
Would you tell her quit saying words to me?
I don't want you to speak to him.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're speaking to him, I don't want you to speak to him.
I'm not speaking to him.
Good. Go.
Okay, now my mother calls me. She says, I want you to go and give Carolanda the interest off her CD. So instead of making it, just getting the interest off of it, I went and put it into Great Western. It was in Bayview Federal. I put it into Great Western. So then I called her and told her to go down, put your Social Security number on it so that you can get the interest from now on. Therefore, I will put your name on the CD. Her name wasn't on the CD.
That's a lie.
Shh. Hey.
He's not telling the truth.
Well, show me.
He put...
Show me. Show me that your name was on the CD.
Oh, it was on the
Show
CD.
me. That's what I want to see. Show me.
I'm saying he's lying
Show me.
about the reason why he put my name in the CD.
Show me. Before I went to Great Western, what bank was it in?
Bayview Federal.
Show me Bayview Federal. This doesn't show me anything.
Okay.
Would you tell her also, Your Honor, do not call me a liar?
Shh. Listen. I didn't hear that she called you a liar. If she called you anything, she's not supposed to speak out in court unless I speak to her.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm not speaking to her. I'm not looking at her.
Thank you. So anyway, I went in to take care of some banking business at Great Western, and the bank agents told me that there's no payments been made on this loan, and there's no interest been paid on it, and within the next 6 months, we're phasing out this type of loan because the bank isn't making any money on it. So I said, okay, I'll get in touch with my daughter. I called my daughter, and I asked her, I said, what are you going to do about this? She says, I don't have any money. I'm not going to pay it, sue me. That's where we are today.
Okay. And your defense is that you didn't have to pay this money back according to the loan agreement by the bank for another few months,
No.
and therefore you were not in default.
Right.
There were a couple. Go ahead.
But he's lying. He did not call me and say that the CD was about to expire and that I better pay the interest on it or whatever. And I don't know what he did, but he closed everyone's CD. No one, all the grandchildren's, my aunts, everyone, every
How much
CD
money
is
does your
gone.
mother have in her estate, Mr. Hayes?
At the time that when she's speaking,
Now, how much money does your mother have in her estate?
she has $40,000.
And this time last year, how much money did your mother have?
Close to $80,000.
And the $40,000 was spent how, sir?
It was, she's speaking of the other loan, is because her brother took a loan out at the same time, this type of loan.
Against?
And then I had to close both of them because the bank was closing out that type of loan.
Does your mother get Social Security, sir?
Yes, she does.
And she gets Medicaid that takes care of her medical expenses?
That's correct.
And she owns an apartment building with 12 units, and each apartment building roughly about $500 on each building.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, sir?
I have one sister.
Okay. So I would assume that with the exception of these CDs that she had for grandchildren, how many grandchildren are there?
There was 5 of us.
That most of your mother's assets, when she passes, are going to go to you and your sister. Is that right?
No,
Yes, that's correct. Sorry.
Talking to him?
no, it goes to me. I am the trustee of the account. Of
I
her,
didn't-
all of her assets goes to me.
What about
You
your
re-
sister? Shh.
My sister gets 25% of the net gross of the building, of the money after all bills are paid.
When did your mother make a will?
My mother made a will in 1993, and then she revised it in 1995.
Okay. All right. Now, let me deal with your countersuit, Ms. Hayes.
Yes, ma'am.
You are countersuing your father because you say that he has misappropriated your grandmother's money.
That's correct.
Okay. Nobody made you the monitor of your grandmother's money.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Whether someone is violating their fiduciary relationship, and your father has what we call in the trade a fiduciary relationship with his mother, is something that is going to be dealt with at some point in surrogates court or a court where they handle estates. A judge in the surrogates court will also determine whether his mother, who he has acknowledged suffers from Alzheimer's, was able to revise a will in 1995, had the mental capacity to revise a will, and I would assume that your aunt, who is his sister, as well as whatever grandchildren there are who might have been mentioned in a prior will contest that will once it's filed and make a determination as to whether or not there has been another breach of fiduciary.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You just told me that your mother, who's 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's, sir. Stop giving me a lot of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes and his daughter Carolanda are in court fighting over money left in a bank account by Carolanda's grandmother. Charlie claims his daughter had no right to withdraw the money.
Let me turn now to this issue before me. What is that, Mr. Hayes?
This is the contract that she stated she signed with the bank.
That's right here.
That she would return the money.
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Now, if she did not return this money, all that they were going to do is withdraw it
That's correct.
from the CD.
That's correct.
Now, according to your papers, sir, this CD was originally in your mother's name and trust for her.
That's correct.
Your name was not on it at all, as your mother had CDs for all the grandchildren.
She tried.
What you did, sir, was add your name, according to this, to each one of the CDs.
Only that one, Your Honor.
Why only this one?
Because I wanted to make sure that she paid it back, and if she went to the bank to get any money, I wanted them to notify me.
Well, but you know, what you've done here, sir, is you have added your name as a partner in this CD. Your mother really had no intention of making you a partner in this CD.
She knew about that.
Don't tell me what she knows. She knows nothing now. She's lucky
That's
for her
now.
that she knows. She knew nothing about what you did here, sir, because she had no intention of making you a third partner in this CD.
I took it to her and told her about this, Your
You
Honor.
just told me that your mother, who's 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's, sir. Stop giving me a lot of baloney.
No, I'm not.
One of the things that I'm saying to you is I'm distressed. I'm distressed because I don't understand why you as a parent, and your daughter has probably cost you a lot of money over the years.
Of
Or it
course.
cost your mother a lot of money. She's probably made some mistakes, and she has been indulged by an indulgent grandmother when she's run into financial difficulty. But what we're talking about is a father suing his daughter for money that really isn't even yours.
I don't want the money.
Well, what I'm asking you, Mr. Hayes, is why bring your daughter to court over this money, which is not... The truth of the matter is she could have taken out more. It wouldn't have been the right thing. But she could have taken out more than 50% of the money. She didn't. And I assume you have a couple of children?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a husband?
No, ma'am.
You work?
Yes.
What do you do?
Import and export.
How much do you earn?
$40,000 a year.
So you earn a reasonable living.
Yes, I do. But and rent is outrageous, and 2 kids, and child care, and I'm barely putting things.
Where are the father of these 2 children?
One's
Well, that's a smile. A smile isn't an answer.
One's in Louisiana. The other one, they take care of their children. But I'm just saying that it's difficult to raise 2 kids by yourself.
Okay. Listen, there comes a point when your family's going to stop bailing you out.
I have.
Your grandmother bailed you out. She gave you money before?
Yes.
She gave you money for $3,000, $1,600, or whatever.
But 2 of them were gifts. I
I'm
graduated
not even
with
suggesting,
honors from school.
I'm not suggesting that the $3,000 and the $1,600 weren't gifts by a grandmother. Say, yeah, take the money. If you can pay back, fine. If you can't, fine. Sir, it was your mother's intention that this young lady have this money.
Up on her desk.
That's her intention.
That's correct.
That's her intention.
That's correct. I would like for her to have it up on her desk. I love my daughter. I don't want to.
Who are you?
Your Honor, I'm her mother.
What do you have to add to this?
I have to add that I've also helped her and my son.
I don't need that information. It's irrelevant whether you help them. Listen to me.
Yes, sir.
It's irrelevant that you help them. You're supposed to help them. You're her mother.
Oh, yes, and I will.
Good.
Until the day I
Nice.
die.
Sit down.
But that's not just it. I mean, she can contest that my father, he just abuses funds. He just goes
I'm not
through them.
interested in that. Nobody made you your grandmother's money monitor. If you believe that your father is abusing his fiduciary relationship to his mother, go to court and seek to be appointed her guardian because he's abusing it, and then a judge will hear you, and we will move on. But you cannot, madam, countersue for that.
I wouldn't bring my father to court.
So, well, you countersued, and I dismissed the countersuit because you have no basis for a countersuit unless you are the guardian of your grandmother.
What he's doing is just totally wrong.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Hayes, under the law,
Yes, Your
your
Honor.
daughter did exactly what she had a right to do by taking out this loan.
What about
Under the law, she doesn't even have to pay it back because the account is in her name. And if she chooses to, she can let the loan default, and she can let the CD be reduced by the amount of the loan. That is her right because her name is on this account. Do you understand, sir?
That's my fault.
Case dismissed.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He has 2 grandchildren who he never...
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 377 on the calendar in the matter of Swarthout versus Lee. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
The 2 of you were involved, according to these papers, in the making of a movie, a short movie. You were a student, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
Got together some money, a budget of about $50,000, and you hired the...
About 63,000, Your Honor. Yeah.
63, it's even better. You hired the defendant.
No, I didn't hire her.
How did you come together with the defendant who also worked on this movie?
I'd known Miss Lee for a number of years when she lived out in Malibu. She had been a number of short-term jobs in the show business industry, and I knew that she had produced a short film prior to this. She had some experience doing it. So I asked her if she would volunteer to work with me, and she was quite enthusiastic about making another film. No, I did not pay her.
There was some sort of payment involved.
No, none. This is a student film, Your Honor. Everybody, the key people are working for free on this for the experience and for the credit.
What do you do with the $63,000 that you gathered?
This goes for 35mm film, to rent Panavision cameras, to rent very expensive equipment. Right.
And none of the actors who were in the film were paid either?
None of the actors were paid.
Okay. According to your complaint, she was co-signatory on the bank account that was set up to deal with the $63,000, and also did some of the purchasing, et cetera, for the project, and that she took without permission money from that account and also failed to repay certain loans that you authorized. Is that right?
That's correct.
Well, tell me about it.
We went through the class together, jumped all the hurdles, started making the film. We were chosen along with 4 other teams at UCLA to make the movie. She volunteered her apartment, the front living room of her apartment, to use as production headquarters. When the thing was getting going and underway, we got involved in the casting. She was helpful on that, working full-time. She had quit her job, her full-time job, after a pay dispute with her last boss. We got involved in the making of the film. I'm suing her on 6 different counts today for this equipment that was missing. I had to buy her a fax machine. She did not have one. I set up a fax line for her, a producer's manual, as well as a little accounting machine that she wanted. Miss Lee then sort of went Hollywood on us, unfortunately. She started taking herself to women in film luncheons. She took the other producer. She went to a full-day women in film seminar for $175 for networking purposes that had nothing to do with our motion picture. She went out to the Shambhala Wild Animal Preserve and bought $80 worth of personal souvenirs from our star, Tippi Hedren, a book about Shambhala and a film that Tippi had made. Had personal souvenirs, had nothing to do with this motion picture. As we were moving closer to production, she asked me to borrow the first month's rent, or February rent. I reluctantly agreed, but she was using her living room as a production office, so I said, okay. She asked me the same thing in March, the next month.
How much was the rent?
$500 a month.
So that's $1,000 that you say is a loan.
That's $1,000 loan. The notations are right on the checks that she wrote in her handwriting, saying...
I assume you have the check.
Yes, I do.
Because the first few things that you're talking to me about, well, with the exception perhaps of the fax machine, which is expensive, you're really talking about change. You're talking about $80, and you're talking about $100. You know, I mean, I know those are little things. But here we have... Wish I could see without my glasses, but I can't.
And it says her notations on the bottom saying, loan to Michaelina.
Uh-huh.
Not a gift.
Mm-hmm. Well, that you have to...
That's her handwriting.
I see that. Okay. What else?
During the course of the production, the actual 7 days of filming, Michaelina dipped into the petty cash accounts and was treating herself to extra meals on the way home from the set. Most serious, I caught Miss Lee stealing money from the production account. I noticed on March 6th, with a quick check that I did on my ATM machine, that on the second month's rent that she took for $500, which I had agreed to, she tacked $317 onto this. I asked her what the extra $317 was for, and she said she had some personal bills to pay that month, and she didn't want to break a certificate of deposit that she had in her savings account. She didn't want to lose the interest. I yelled at her and told her to put the money back in the account immediately. 1 week later, she wrote a personal check for $400 and put the money back in the account and said she would not do it again. 4 days later, she started stealing from me again. She had her own private account at the Bank of America. She linked her credit card to this production account and started making unauthorized cash withdrawals. This happened 5 separate times, from amounts ranging from $20 to $120. When I caught this belatedly, because your bank statements come in 2 weeks later after the month, she wrote another check, personal check, for $100 to put the money back in the account. And that very same day she put the $100 back, she wrote another check to cash for $70. With the $500 that she put back in the account, she is still $127 short on personal monies that she took out. I called all 3 producers together. Miss Lee handed me over all the receipts, unsorted in an envelope that we've been trying to straighten out since, and she was relieved of her financial duties. I have been trying to clean up this mess ever since.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you found that he was, as you say, futzing around and not doing things quickly enough, you say, goodbye, I have to go get a job.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Filmmaker Miles Swarthout says producer Michaelina Lee embezzled money from his film budget.
All right, Miss Lee. That's a long story.
It is.
However, I have certain checks that clearly indicate a loan.
That's true.
And I looked at your answer, and not only do you have an answer, but you have a counterclaim. That's... I was not impressed with. But your answer says, well, they really weren't a loan.
That's correct.
Then why would you write loan on the check?
At the time I took them, they were going to be a loan. Then, because we were also supposed to... By the way, we didn't rent a Panavision. We rented an Aton, just so everybody knows.
Well, it's from Panavision.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway.
Type of camera.
Anyway. Hey, shut up.
Hey.
I'm sorry. Okay, anyway. We were supposed to film the movie in January. Okay, I don't have a trust fund. I got to work for a living. I've already done this once. I don't need the practice. I'm not a student. I mean, I was a student.
Just a minute.
I did
Shh. Then what did you do it for?
Out of friendship to him.
Baloney.
No, not baloney.
Oh, Miss Lee, listen to me. You don't quit your job and go into a project where you know you're not going to be compensated financially out of friendship. You know, you're not 18 years old. Mm-hmm. So don't give me a lot of baloney. Make sure when you talk to me, I don't want to hear from you now. We gave you time, uninterrupted. When did this $1,000 become a gift rather than the loan that you originally said it was?
The first one became one in the beginning of February, right after I took the loan, and the second one became one almost immediately after I took that loan, too.
Well, explain to me how that happened.
He said, you're doing such a good job, you don't have to pay it back. And also because of the fact that we were supposed to shoot the movie in January, but he kept putzing around and changing the script, and he couldn't make up his mind which actress he wanted, and he, you know, it was going on and on and on. That, I mean, I don't have a trust fund. I got to get money somewhere, and I couldn't work because of him.
Oh, no.
No, it was full time.
Miss Lee, we don't have servitude in this country anymore. So if you found that he was, as you say, futzing around and not doing things quickly enough, so you were going to be out of work for a longer period of time, you say, goodbye, I have to go get a job. Don't tell me you don't have a trust fund, which you've intimated in your answer says, well, he has a trust fund, so he doesn't have to work for a living. You are a grown-up lady, and if you didn't like the ground rules, all you have to do is say, listen to me, Miss Lee. I seriously question whether this man, who has kept to every last penny monies in his head, monies that you have allegedly taken in an unauthorized fashion, said to you, you're doing a great job, I'm going to forgive the loan.
Well, I have a witness.
Let me hear your witness. First, I hear witnesses' names.
Oh, excuse me. My name is Terrell Lewis. I was a production assistant, Swarthout. We went, myself, Mr. Swarthout, Michaelina, and the other producer, Mr. Swarthout. We went myself, Mr. Swarthout, Michaelina, and the other producer, Miss Green, we went out to dinner. I rode with Mr. Swarthout to that dinner at Jerry's Deli, and he did inform me that he was paying Michaelina's rent because she wasn't working. She was paying his rent and helping her with his tuition, with her tuition for school.
It was a school.
Tuition is one thing. Tell me the words that you remember that he said, sir.
As best as I can remember, he said, Michaelina hasn't been working. She's been working on this production all day. I've been helping pay her rent and helping her pay her tuition.
Okay. That doesn't say it wasn't a loan. But I understand what you're saying. He did, in fact, help you pay your rent by allowing you to make these loans. Have a seat. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
No.
Good. Have a seat. Thank you. Go ahead. Next.
Where were we?
Let's
still on the loans?
Let's go to the fax machine.
Oh, the fax machine? That was supposed to be a thank you that I said, you know, I have to do this with a fax machine. I don't have one. You have to buy one for me, and I get to keep it. And he said, yeah, no problem.
Did you ever tell us you could keep the fax machine?
I agreed to. I said it was going to be a gift to her if she'd done a good job on the production. I had given her a gift beforehand. I gave all 3 producers $85 free years gift memberships in Independent Filmmakers West for the good job they were doing before we started.
Mr. Swarthout, listen to me. It's really important that when you tell a story, especially when you appear to have a favorable response from the person who's hearing your case,
right,
that you don't embellish the truth. You did make her the gift of the fax machine. I cannot envision you saying to her, I'm going to make you a gift of this fax machine if you do a good job on the production. That's not the way it's done out here in Hollywood, because everybody's very touchy-feely. Nobody says, though, would say that. You would say, you're going to have fax machine as a thank you. Right?
No, I did say that, Your Honor.
No,
we were working on the incentive plan
No,
here,
you
since everybody-
didn't. No, you didn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She got what she was working for. She got the publicity.
Yeah, but no one wants to see the movie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Student filmmaker Miles Swarthout says he used his own money to make a motion picture and that his producer, Michaelina Lee, stole from it.
Now, you took out money from this cash account.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were treating it as your own personal piggy bank. You were doing that even though you may have been putting money back. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's correct.
But you were treating it as your own little private thing. You needed 20 bucks, you took 20 bucks. So you said to you, better put it back, and then you put it back. And then you took another 50 bucks, and then you put back 30 bucks, or you put that back 70 bucks. But you were treating it like a personal checking account, right?
To get gas money to do his film.
No,
Yes.
Miss Lee.
Yes.
Well, if you were putting it for gas money, that's a legitimate thing that you can write
Yeah.
off to the company. We're not talking about that. We're talking about if you needed pocket money and you were a little short, you took out money and then you put it back.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Little
Honor.
teeny bit.
Miss
And
Lee.
most of it was
Miss
for
Lee,
gas money.
Miss Lee, the problem is when you take out a little bit, you see, and you're not 100% pure because you are using it in an unauthorized manner. Put your hand down. And you also feel as if, listen, they're using my apartment,
My car,
they're using your car,
my phone.
all with your permission, right?
The
All-
permission was only given for the first couple months. It went on for 6 months.
Say goodbye.
I couldn't. I was enrolled in the class.
Say goodbye to the class. Say goodbye. I mean, you're not a 20-year-old student. Say
not.
goodbye to the class. Say goodbye to the project.
You're
That's what
right.
happens when
I'm
you
not-
make a film, Miss Lee. I mean, I'm not a professional in this industry, but you hear all the time. Right,
Judge,
Bert? It goes on, and the budget was $1 million, then it turned into $30 million, then it was $30 million, it turned into $100 million. It was supposed to take 6 weeks, it took 6 months.
The
You
next
hear that
film
all
I
the
did
time.
came in on time and on budget.
Well, you must have been dealing with some genius because it never happens.
He was normal.
Miss Lee, if you're saying that the plaintiff wasn't normal, then you say goodbye.
You're right.
So you're right. Now, also, Mr. Swarthout, is this the first film that you've done?
Yes, the first one I've directed.
Then you should know this. Budget is a very difficult thing, and if you think that any judge is going to sit and go through $11.17,
Right.
$20.19, $33.14 to try to come up with the exact figure that you say this lady owes you, you got another thing coming. It's part of the package of making a movie that you have to figure certain expenses. Petty cash is that what we're talking about, petty cash. Now, what you did was wrong, but I'm not going to go through all this to figure out who owes who $20. You understand that?
Right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, she clearly owes you for her rent. $1,000 for her rent. She clearly owes for that. And as far as the fax machine is concerned, which is the only other major expense that you told me about, I believe that you gave her that fax machine, as probably well you should if she allowed her home to be used as the hub of your production. So I'm discounting that. Now let me just address for a moment your counterclaim.
Okay.
Because I will address it very briefly. In order to be able to counterclaim, you have to have an agreement. And you had absolutely no agreement with him with regard to your phone bill, with regard to rent for your apartment, none whatsoever. Because you're counterclaiming for rent, a couple of $100 a month, right? Mm-hmm. Did you ever discuss that with him?
Yeah. It was on our original budget.
Rent for your apartment?
Rent for the office and in my apartment.
That he signed off on?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Oh.
I don't think so.
I'd love to see that.
Shoot. I don't know if I have it. I brought everything except the original budget.
Can't help you there, Ms.
Yep.
Lee. Got to tell them, would you have written loan on your check for rent if rent was included in the budget? No. And with all those documents that you have, and the main thing that you're asking for here is money towards your rent, your countersuit is for the rent, and that's the one piece of paper you didn't bring where he agreed to pay rent on your plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Back go to your right, please.
She got what she was working for. She got the publicity.
But no one wants to see the movie.
She's also been branded a thief.
I think he's being overdramatic. It was loans between friends at the time. It wasn't theft.
I hope she never attempts to become a producer in show business again. I hope her...
She was wrongfully fired by Maxie and Tim Yates. The Yates say they won't pay her because she lied about her background as a convicted felon.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 372 on the calendar in the matter of Early versus Yates. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Early, your complaint alleges that you were hired by the defendants to babysit for their child. Beautiful baby.
That's me.
Look at that. Look at him. Okay. And that you did babysit for him for a week, and you were supposed to be paid $250. You were not paid.
Correct.
They have what they consider a very legitimate reason for not paying you. Tell me how you were hired by the defendants. How did they find you?
I called an ad that was listed in the Union Tribune, the paper, and we set up an interview, and I went to their house, and they met me and talked with me for a while and hired me that night, and I started work, I believe it was 2 days after that night.
Had you been working before?
I've worked before, but no, I was not working at the time.
Had you ever done childcare before?
Yes. I've never been paid for it, but my mother is a foster mom for newborn babies.
But you
so I
had
grew up.
not done childcare before?
No.
Okay. And the agreed salary was $250 a week?
No, it was $800 a month, but $50 was what they figured. And then I let them $50 was what they figured. And then I let them reminded them about $7 that I spent of my own money on grocery food. I went grocery shopping.
But you did in fact stay with the baby for a week?
I stayed for a week and 2 days.
Okay, and when were you let go?
I was let go a week later, after I had worked the whole following Monday through Friday. The following Saturday, I got a phone call and I was let go.
From who made the phone call?
Maxie.
Can you tell me what that conversation was?
She called to let me go and said that she had her reasons, that it was very difficult for her to leave the baby alone while she was working, and that she needed to have surgery done, and that she wasn't going to be going back to work. And I was kind of upset by it because I, was happy working there, and I really enjoyed working for them and for the little boy. I mean, he's adorable. And I asked, does it have anything to do with me? And I was told absolutely not, and that I should be a housekeeper, was the quote that she said, because she was very happy with the housework I did. I did a lot of housework. She asked me if I would like the check mailed to me or if I'd like to come pick it up, and I said I'd like to come pick it up. And they said that they had some errands to do and stuff and to call them later that day.
The check was not forthcoming, so, I mean, I've read your statement, so I know that
right.
According to you, they kept promising that the check was in the mail.
The check was
never in the mail.
Never.
Ultimately, they told you they were not going to pay you.
In the end, 3 weeks later.
3 weeks later, what did they tell you?
After phone calls of being promised my money was coming, I said, can I come over and pick up a check? And they said, well, we need to talk. She explained to me that she didn't think I did the job I was supposed to do, and that I was sleeping in their house, that I was taking showers in their house. All this is very untrue, and that they had a videotape of me. Started getting upset and started to cry. And he took the phone and said, what seems to be the problem? Started getting upset and started to cry. And he took the phone and said, what seems to be the problem? He talked with her. And Maxie proceeded to tell my boyfriend, Stefan, he talked with her. And Maxie proceeded to tell my boyfriend, Stefan, that I abused their baby, that, and then again, that I was sleeping and showering and...
Did you sleep in the house?
No.
Did you ever shower in the house?
No.
Okay. Now, you want to tell, so you were not paid?
No.
You want to tell me why?
I'm glad. Sure, her accounts are fairly accurate. She did come to work, as she stated. We had an interview with both my husband, myself, and I. Actually, Your Honor, if I could submit some information for evidence, I'd appreciate
What is it?
That. We had a background check run on Miss Early. We've got 12 pages worth of, she's got quite a criminal history. We asked her whether or not she had a criminal background. She stated to us that she did not. One of the requirements of employment was that she be fingerprinted, and we let her...
One of your requirements?
Correct,
yes.
and that was to be done within the first 3 days of employment, and she never submitted the fingerprints. She did, however, and I have a copy of this, she submitted to us her driver's license, which is an alias name that she is using. She's got 12 pages worth of
I have no other
criminal
names.
background. She's a habitual felon. Much of her background is...
You didn't get that information until when?
Actually, the Monday that she began, that she was alone with the child, we had gotten a report back from the investigators saying that the local check had cleared and that they didn't find anything on her, so we felt confident. And the Friday that we let her go, we got the out-of-state check, which was, we've got 12 pages worth of her history.
I'll look at that in a moment.
Okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I've had no other aliases. I've had no other names.
Not according to this, madam.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Leslie Early says Maxie and Tim Yates owe her for babysitting. The Yates claim that a secret videotape shows Leslie endangering their child.
You indicate in your answer that you had, in fact, set up a babysitting surveillance video.
Correct, yes.
And when did you start this video process?
We started that the Monday that she began by herself with the baby.
And did you view the video that night?
We did. yes.
Was there anything untoward on the video that night?
Well, on that evening, there were some things that we were slightly concerned about, but we thought that we could speak with her and without really letting her know, because why give it away and get a true effect of what she was doing.
So there was nothing on the video on Monday
Not
that
so much
suggested
on
to you
Monday.
that you should immediately terminate her?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, on Tuesday, did you view the video?
On Tuesday, my husband had come home early.
The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, yes, in person and on the video.
Was there anything on the video on Tuesday that suggested that you had to terminate her employment on Tuesday?
We thought that we could speak with her and work through it.
Miss Early.
In
Why
retrospect,
don't you
I'm
have a
sorry.
seat with the baby, sir?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. In retrospect, I think I should have let her go on Tuesday. Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
He's absolutely adorable.
Right.
I cannot order him to be quiet. So if he wants to play, if he wants to, you can take him outside, sir. Miss Yates, you sound like a very intelligent person. If there was anything on that video that suggested to you that your child was in danger, you would not have gone to work on Tuesday or Wednesday. That's, I mean, if you went to work on Wednesday.
There were concerns.
Concerns
yes.
is different. Because this is a question of paying her for the week, even though you terminated her. So I'm trying to find the point in time. It's not Monday, and it wasn't Tuesday.
It was Wednesday.
All right. What happened on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, she had left the baby on the couch. He was at the point of sitting up and rolling over. She had left the room for a good 20 minutes. At that time, the baby was sitting up, rolling over, and going back and forth on the edge of the couch. My husband and I were watching this tape at the end of the day and just waiting for him to fall. Fortunately, he did not.
So this was on Wednesday?
That was on Wednesday.
Did you go to work on Thursday?
I did, ma'am. I was trying to maintain my job, yes.
Miss Yates?
I did.
You went to work on Thursday.
Correct.
And you left Miss Early with the baby on Thursday.
I had asked neighbors to stop in on her.
And nobody
Miss,
did.
shh. Miss Yates, you went to work on Thursday?
I went to work on Thursday and Friday.
And you went to work on
Yes.
Friday. So, despite the fact that you saw things that were of concern to you on the tape, you still left your child alone with her. 5 days.
I regret having done it, but yes, I did.
And,
So-
Your Honor, every day I was very concerned and asked how everything was, you know.
Miss Early.
And I was
Miss Early,
always
she's
told
entitled to
everything
hire
was
you,
fine.
and she's
Sure.
entitled to fire you.
Sure, I understand all that.
Good. So, that doesn't mean you don't have to pay her. Can I see the background check, please?
Please. And there's
Now,
a copy of her driver's license that she submitted. She's got a fake Social Security number that she submitted to us. The driver's license is with her fake AKA.
Who are you? You keep wanting to stand up. Who are you?
I am presently, she watches my daughter. She's watched my daughter for some time now. I don't believe when they said that they asked her and she said nothing, because I asked her and she told me that she had done some things when she was younger.
What do you mean she told you she did some things when she was younger? What does that mean?
She did some things when she was younger, living with her parents, that, you know, she went to court for. And
did you check on it?
No, I did not. I talked to her mother.
What do you mean you didn't check on it after she told you that?
I spoke to her mother in Florida.
I told her everything, so, you know, I wasn't holding back.
And how old is the child that she babysits for you?
My daughter's 5.
Okay. What is your name?
Valerie.
Valerie what?
McElroy.
Miss McElroy, all I can tell you is this. If I had a young child that I was leaving alone with someone, and if that person said to me, I do in fact have a criminal history.
That has nothing to do with children. Yes.
I would certainly do more than call her mother to find out what it was.
Well, I
That would
explained to her everything, that it was.
You're good at
and I
explaining.
was 18 years old, and it was, I don't regret what happened to me then. It was a wonderful learning experience.
Miss Early, you're not following what I'm saying. You're being defensive. What I'm saying to this parent of a young child is more prudent behavior, madam, would suggest to me that instead of calling her mother to find out what it was all about, you do your own background check to make sure that you have all the information. If you're leaving your most treasured possession with a stranger, then you do an independent background check. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, so what you did was not enough. I mean, these things, I'm looking at the profile, and I see it is really true that that the most recent arrest that you have was back in 1991, correct?
December
That's a
5th,
long time ago.
1990 was the only time I was arrested. December 5th, 1990, yes. And I've had no other aliases. I've had no other names. I've never had a married name. I've had that name all my life. And I have been arrested December 5th, 1990.
Not according to this, madam.
I know for a fact I'll never forget the day.
Well, there are arrests here, I will tell you, on December 7th, 1990, November 30th, 1990, November 13th, 1990.
I was only arrested on December 5th, maybe December 7th. I mean, that's, I thought I could, all these
February
years
19th
I've been...
of 91, forged check, past forged check.
I was still incarcerated in February for the same thing from December 5th, 1990.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I got in trouble for drugs when I was 18.
And what else?
Prostitution, you are a liar.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Professional babysitter Leslie Early wants to be paid for her services. Maxie and Tim Yates refuse to pay because they say she lied about her criminal past.
Have you ever seen this personal profile?
No.
Well, I would suggest you take a look at it, because if it is incorrect, I suggest that what you do is you make sure that they fix it. But these things have
and
a NICE, listen to me, these things have a NICE number. They are clearly referred to you, and if somebody is making a mistake on all of these arrests, I suggest that you deal with it. But this is the information that they got. It certainly shows more than one arrest.
Okay.
Take a look at it.
Please.
Now.
Your Honor, may I say something more about that?
Yes.
There's also, more recently in 1986, there were also several
86 or 96?
I'm sorry, 96. Here in California. She had several traffic violations and had a suspended driver's license. One of our agreements was that she would drive the baby to doctor appointments. That was one of the agreements that we had as part of her being a nanny for our child. And obviously she couldn't, she committed to something that she couldn't do.
Miss Yates, you have a tape with you, I see.
That's correct.
What is that tape going to show me?
Well, what we had done is...
Just tell me what it's going to show me.
This particular tape, each day we had videotaped. The most dramatic tape was not on the final day that we fired her. I had informed her in the morning that the...
What? You're not answering my question. What is that tape?
This shows her leaving the baby on the couch and saying, "Don't fall off, don't fall off," and she leaves the room. And it also shows her throwing the infant into the air.
Throwing the infant into the air in an anger or playfully?
Playfully, however, he's medically fragile. She knew that going into it. We explained to him he had major surgery 2.5 months before she took over his care.
But nothing that you're going to show me there indicates abusive behavior.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Because that had been, we had copied it over. And this just shows the vantage point that we had. It also had sound so that we could hear things that were going on through the house. There were some days, 2 days in particular, she let that baby cry, our child cry, for over 3 hours at one time. This is not feeding him.
What day? This
was on Wednesday and on Thursday. Thursday in particular was the worst day. She had asked to do our house.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Miss Yates. Every time a parent has to leave a young child, especially an infant, with a stranger, there are always trepidations because you're never sure about what's going to happen. You are absolutely entitled to hire and fire the caregiver of your choice, whether you have reason or whether you don't have reason. In this case, clearly, according to you, you had just cause to let her go. For the following reasons. You had tape and you weren't satisfied with her performance. And then subsequently, you received a background check which suggested to you that she was less than forthcoming with regard to what her background was. And even if you hadn't gotten this background check, according to you, you would have let her go. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
However, Mrs. Yates, you did allow her to remain in your employ, and you went to work Tuesday after you saw the tape, Wednesday after you saw the tape, Thursday after you saw the tape, and Friday after you saw the tape. You went to work. And I assume you don't work for nothing, so you got paid, right? And you said to me, I didn't want to risk my job, right?
That's absolutely correct.
You have to pay her for the week she worked for you.
You know what,
if you had let her go on Monday night after you viewed the tape, she would have had absolutely no cause to complain, but the fact that you permitted her to stay with your baby for that entire week, despite the fact that you and your husband were coming home every night, right, sir? And
Yes.
watching the tape. It is unreasonable for you now to withhold her salary. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. Did she, in fact, buy food for you and lay out $7?
Yes, but we had agreed at $700 a month. She had miscalculated. She said $250 a week. It was actually $175 a week.
She called me to tell me that the amount was $250 on the phone. I didn't come up with that amount.
I'm awarding you $257.
That's fine.
Great.
I want to say something to you. Look at me. When you have a young child, you're supposed to be very cautious. And I'm not suggesting that Miss Early is not a good caretaker for children. I am not making that judgment here today. All I'm saying today in today's case is these people utilized her services for a week and they have to pay her. What I'm saying to you is you may be perfectly satisfied with her as a caregiver for your 5-year-old. You have to be more prudent in the process that you use for selecting a person. You're a parent, and your primary responsibility has to be to your child. So whether it's this lady or some other lady in the future who's going to take care of your baby, do your own background check. You don't call her mother to find out if she's a nice person. I assume that you have somebody else taking care of your baby now?
My husband and I are taking care of him. We alternate.
That baby is absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
So it may be worthwhile.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Your Honor.
Thank you. That baby is absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
So it may be worthwhile.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
May I get a copy of this?
Yeah, we'll get you a copy.
Okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think that they've done this before, in my opinion, and I just think that they were pulling whatever they could to try to not pay somebody. And
I think you're the one that's done things before, Leslie.
okay, Maxie, well, you're the loser today.
No, I'm not a loser.
Sure
We're the
she
winners
is.
because I feel that this person has been exposed on national TV.
For refusing to pay for her high school ring.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Now, this is case number 384 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please, ma'am.
Excuse me, are you her mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you step up here, please? This is your mom?
Yes.
That's your dad?
Yes.
And you are suing your father because you say that he owes you a class ring.
Yes.
So let me understand this. How long are your parents divorced?
I believe since I was 5.
And how old are you now?
18.
And for most of that time, you lived with your mother.
Yes.
But there came a time when you left your mother's house
Yes.
to go and live with your father. How old were you?
17.
Why did she leave?
We had an argument.
Not just one, I assume.
Oh, typical mother-daughter, clean your room, do what I ask you to do kind of arguments.
But they must have escalated into more than that for her to, I assume, call your father and say, can I come and live with you?
Yeah.
So?
It was that, and I checked into the school out there, and they had a production class that I was looking at. That looked real promising.
No. You had it with your mother, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I assume, Miss Mason, that you had at that point had it with your daughter?
Yes.
Now, were you in favor of her going to live with her father?
No, I thought that was a bad decision.
So you get this call, sir,
Yes.
from your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the call.
She was very panicked. She was upset with things that was going on in the house there. She had stated that on numerous occasions she was told to stay home from school to take care of her youngest sister. She said that she was sick and tired of living in the house. She was sharing a room with her aunt. Her aunt had been there for a long period of time, and she had 2 children who were living in the same room as Jessica. Jessica was tired of that. Her aunt was getting up in the middle of the night, screaming at the children, cussing at them, and she was just tired of it. And she wanted a better way of life. She thought that she can get it in Memphis, which we promised that, you know, if you want to come out here, we will do the best we can for you.
Okay. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, sir, that was your first mistake. Because I assume that the first thing you didn't do, don't have that look of incredulity on your face. Teenagers in this kind of situation always lie. Because they got 2 parents who live far away from each other and who don't communicate. So the first thing you should have done was pick up the phone and call your former wife.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
In hindsight, that was the right thing to do. Because when your daughter got to your house, everything was okay for a while, right?
Yes, it was.
But then after a while, it wasn't okay. Tell me why it wasn't okay.
Well, after quite a few months went by, things were very good. She got enrolled in school, she was making friends, she got involved in church programs and things of that nature, made friends through the church. Things are going great. Long about December, my father was very ill in the hospital. After about the 4th week of his hospitalization, my wife Rhonda and Jessica and I flew out to California here to be with my father in his final days. During that time, Jessica said that she did not wish to confront her mother, did not want to cross paths with her. And we said, you know, it's whatever you want to do, but, you know, we can't guarantee that that will not happen because my youngest daughter would more likely be at the hospital, be with her grandfather.
So you have 2 children?
Yes, I do.
With your former wife?
Right.
Are you in touch with your younger daughter?
Yes.
Do you see her?
It's been a while since I have seen her.
How old is she?
She's 14 years old.
Okay. So you came out to California to be with your dad, and they crossed paths.
Right. Actually, what happened, Jessica had the urge to see her youngest half-sister, and we set up a meeting 2 days after my dad passed away, and they met in the Northridge Mall. It was going to be for a period of 3 hours. You know, we agreed to it. We said, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. We're not going to stop you. Even though her mother had a notarized letter saying she disowned her daughter completely. Afterwards, we found out that, according to Jessica, she was forced to write in a letter in the furniture department of JCPenney's saying that there was items that she did not want sent back to Memphis. Previous to this, we were trying to get her belongings sent out here to us. Her mother at that time said that her belongings were turned over to other family members and Jessica was not entitled to it till she was 18 years old.
Yeah, according to your paper, sir, to make a long story short, first there was a custody battle that you had.
Right.
With your former wife.
Yes.
And you retained counsel for that, and it was a costly process.
Right.
And that custody battle was ultimately resolved with your daughter living with you.
Right.
Now, you say you had a notarized letter from her mother saying she totally disowned her.
That's correct.
Did you write that letter?
I gave up custody till she was 18, yes.
Does anybody have a copy of that letter?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. I mean, if you say you gave up custody, but that was not before there was a custody battle that was waging between 2 jurisdictions. Is that right?
Right.
This is from an attorney, and this is a letter from you indicating that you, biological mother of Jessica Ann Thompson, relinquish all my court-appointed rights to Jessica, including physical custody and visitation, until her 18th birthday.
Right.
So you must have been really angry with her at that point.
I was. I was very, very angry.
Absolutely. All right. Now, you were so angry that when she wanted her property back, you said no. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Which forced you, sir,
yes,
to start litigation to get her property back.
At Jessica's request.
Okay, so you got a lawyer for that.
Right.
That cost you money.
Exactly.
And then she goes to the mall, meets her mom, and then signs, according to you, in the furniture department of J.C. Penney, a letter saying, I don't want my belongings back.
That's correct.
And you had already paid your lawyer for that,
Yes.
et cetera. All right, so things started to get not so good.
Right.
But this didn't have to do so much with the belongings. You felt as if she was manipulating,
Yes.
which is what she had been doing from the beginning, Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You didn't give them back, right?
No, I did not.
Why? Because you were angry.
I was angry.
Right. And these were her things.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Thompson moved from her mother's home to her dad's. When she fought with Bob Thompson's new wife, she says he reneged on a promise to buy her her high school ring.
During this time, some point, she was going to graduate from high school and needed money for a class ring
Yes.
and the book and everything else, which is what all this is about. And you gave her how much?
We offered $300 to assist to getting the ring and the graduation announcements for the high school in Memphis that she was going to graduate from.
But then there was a big brouhaha in your house.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Following the initial meeting that she had with her mom, Jessica's attitude started changing. It wasn't a drastic change, but it was noticeable. But we were able to deal with it. In February, she bought the CD from a group. It was a group called Cake.
Cake?
Yes. What it stands for, I have no idea. I don't, but there was a song in there that she apparently thought that was a good song to listen to. Well, in our house, we do not allow music of this nature because of the language that's in there, the four-letter words, what they imply, the implications that come out of the music. When Jessica bought the CD, the little girl across the street had gone to the record store with her to get it. In our car, we have a CD player. Jessica put the CD in and played that particular song twice on the way home, according to the little girl across the street. Now, the little girl across the street, she's very religious, comes from a religious family and a strong background. So it was pretty offending to her, but she was also told by Jessica not to say anything about it.
Anyway, it started out with the CD with this group. Things got bad in your house, Mr. Thompson.
Yes. This is leading up to it.
Get to it.
Okay,
I mean, I've had teenage girls.
Okay. Well, because of the line that Jessica had told us about the CD and denying the entire incident, we felt it was best to put her on restriction. We told her she cannot do any after-school activities with her friends for a week. She was not allowed to speak on the phone after 8 o'clock at night for a week. And we felt this was reasonable punishment for a week's period.
Okay, because she lied to you.
Right.
Okay.
Well, she took very much offense to it.
Rules.
Rules, exactly.
And she broke the rules according to this.
Yes.
And then there was an explosion in your house with your wife.
Right.
According to what I read here. Tell me about that explosion with your wife.
Okay. Jessica...
Why don't you step up here? Your name is?
Rhonda.
Tell me your version of the explosion that happened in the house, Jessica.
Well, I had gotten home from school to eat lunch and then go back up to the school because we had the play production rehearsal that night. And I was told by Rhonda that I was grounded, and I was told by my dad that I wasn't. So I was getting two sides of the story. So Rhonda came home early from work, and as I went to leave the house, she stepped in my way and wouldn't let me out the door. She grabbed me both by my arms right here, and she turned me around and she threw me against the wall. And then as I tried to move away, she pushed me back against the corner of the china cabinet. And then she finally sat me down in a chair and put her knee on me and then called my dad.
Rhonda, let's hear.
After I found out that Jessica wanted to go home, back to LA, I came home to talk to her about it, to find out if that's really what she wanted to do, or was she just wanted to go home because she didn't like the restriction, the rules, that we had set forth. In the course of the conversation, she goes, "I'm not talking to you. I'm leaving." I said, "No, you're not either. You need to stay here and we need to talk about it." And at the time, her dad was still at work, and he knew that I was coming home to talk to her. And when she tried to leave, I did stop her from leaving. I called her dad, and I said, you need to come home now. We need to talk about this. And that's what I did.
How did you stop her?
I did put her in a chair, and I said, you will sit there till I get your dad on the phone, and you can talk to him. We got him on the phone. She talked to him. She even told him, I'm not staying here, I'm leaving. And he said, no, you need to stay there till I get home. And she did.
She stayed? Mm-hmm. And when he came home, what was the discussion, sir?
I was trying to get both sides of the story to figure out what all went on. Jessica did appear to be very unruly. Rhonda said that she was swearing, saying that she was leaving, she was running away, she was going to take the car. It seemed to get way out of hand.
Okay, now, so it all got out of hand. Bottom line is, you ultimately canceled the ring.
That's correct.
And you canceled the ring, why?
Because of what went on in the past, and that I did not feel that Jessica deserved the ring for what she went through. When I grew up, I was told whatever I got, I earned it. We all earn what we get in life. Mm-hmm. Okay? I didn't feel Jessica had deserved the ring, particularly from a school that she wasn't going to graduate from.
She was fine until the time she found out it was canceled, and she just demanded that we owed her.
We have a letter here stating everything that she wanted, that we owe her, and how, as a 17-year-old, it's okay to do whatever she did. Mm-hmm. It's clearly stated in this letter.
She disowned him. She said, you're not my dad anymore.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What he gave her was nothing, a parent who wasn't there and a stepmother who was abusive.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Thompson wants her father, Bob Thompson, to pay for her high school ring and to return her possessions.
Mr. Thompson, how much did your legal fees cost you?
All total, it was close to $3,000.
Mm-hmm. Did you have legal fees?
No.
Mm-hmm. Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
In the course of everything that was going on, and she was packing her stuff up and everything, we also found a letter in her room addressed to us from our attorneys from the last court hearing in February that Jessica had gotten out of the mailbox because she didn't want us to know what was in there. Up until the time we went to court in February, she kept saying, I want my stuff, I want my stuff, I want my stuff. And in turn, she has called her mother and said, no, I want to come back home. And it's presented in court, and it's in this letter that she steals out of the mailbox.
Mm-hmm. You two people made a mistake. And your initial mistake was that you forgot the fact that the two of you are the grown-ups, she's the child, and that you have a responsibility, despite the fact that you haven't been together for years, to have a united front with regard to a 17-year-old who doesn't like to live with rules. Mm-hmm. Because that's why she left your house, and that's why she left your house. Because she didn't like the rules. Mm-hmm. It cost you a lot of money, it probably cost you a lot of aggravation. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because you have to know that just as she probably told you some tall tales about what happened in their house which caused her to want to leave, she told them a lot of tall tales about what was going on in your house which caused her to want to leave.
But when I tried to call their house when she was back there to speak to Bob, they would never let me talk to her or him.
The house.
There was a phone in Jessica's room that she had.
Listen, your daughter is 17 years old, madam. Right?
Well,
she's 17 years old. You signed a piece of paper really disowning her. Not only custody, but said visitation, which is really no contact because you were angry. You've got to act like the grown-ups. In any event, I don't see that your father owes you a darn thing. Nothing. You didn't graduate from that high school. You graduated from a high school in California, correct? Right?
Yes.
So I don't see that that ring has any sentimental value, aside from the fact that he's your father. That's a rule. He makes the rules. You're living with him? He said, as long as you're living with me and graduating from the school, I think you should have a ring. Here's the budget for the ring. It's $300. You didn't graduate from the school. You picked up, you left. Why should he give you anything? Why? You caused both of these people a lot of aggravation. Your mother and your father. You want to say that she didn't cause you aggravation? Were you going to say that to me? Were you going to say to me?
No, she caused me aggravation.
Absolutely.
But the ring, on the other hand, he said it was a gift, the $300.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're still not following, madam.
Well, he didn't
You're still
tell me
not
he
following,
canceled
madam.
it.
You shouldn't be on her side. The two of you should be together so that she knows she has a mother and a father who are both people of goodwill, both responsible, but who aren't battling with each other.
You can't battle with somebody who won't speak to
Why
you.
didn't you give her back her things?
She didn't want them.
No, yes, you did.
No, she didn't.
No,
She wanted
listen to
certain
me.
items.
That's not true.
She wanted certain items.
That's not
That is
true.
true.
She wanted certain things.
Right. But she
And
made
you
out a list.
and you didn't give them back to her. You didn't give them back, right?
No, I did not.
Why? Because you were angry.
I was angry.
Right. And these were her things. You made him initially get a lawyer, go to court, and sue over the things that were, according to you, hers, because you were
angry.
Angry. So is he. So is he. He's angry that he spent $3,000 because he got stories from his daughter about how she was being abused and mistreated in your house. He brought her to his house, and within a relatively short period of time, she was being abused and mistreated in his house. She wants to go back to your house. Don't you see any similarity between the things that you wouldn't give back to her and the ring that he wouldn't give her?
No.
No? You're wrong. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
These are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, rancher Steve Simon claims his ex-girlfriend, 32-year-old nurse Michelle Ayala, didn't repay a loan. She used her truck as security. He took the truck.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Your Honor, it's case number 398 on the calendar in the matter of Simon versus Ayala. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Young lady.
You two folks, according to these papers, were in a brief relationship. You each tell lengthy stories about the abuses, deceit of the other. But bottom line, this lawsuit is about a loan that you allege that you made to the defendant.
Yes.
And you made that loan to her after you had already broken up, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell me about that loan.
Well, she gave me a phone call one morning, and she told me she wanted to move out from the place where her and her children was residing, and she needed $950 for the first month's rent and for the deposit, and so I was kind of reluctant to even loan her the money. And then I just asked her if I could have the pink slip to her vehicle for a security.
You said this to her over the phone?
Yes, and
Okay.
also in person.
But first you told her over the phone.
Yes.
And what she asked you for was $950.
Yeah,
Is that what you lent her?
that's what I lent her.
And tell me how that came about.
Well, she came over about 2 or 3 days later. She got on the computer and she typed it up herself.
Typed what up?
I have a copy of the agreement that we made.
Let me see it.
Bailiff. And that would be Exhibit B. That was the agreement that we made that she typed up.
You remember signing that agreement?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So did you give her the money
Yes, I did.
in a check form?
Yes, I did.
Can I see the canceled check, please? Don't show me a check receipt, sir. I want to see the canceled check.
Okay, well, I haven't got that from the bank. I just got the copy of the check, the duplicate.
The duplicate doesn't show me that the check was cashed, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Simon?
Yes, I do.
Because her defense is an interesting one. And her defense is that you stopped payment on this check.
That's not true.
Well, it may not be true, Mr. Simon, but that's her defense, correct?
Yep.
So tell me when he stopped payment on this check.
He wrote the check on the 29th of May for the rent. I did indeed sign for the contract. He wanted more more than just the money. He wanted a relationship. I told him the relationship was no longer in existence. He canceled the check and left me and my kids with no home to live in.
He put a stop payment on the check?
He most certainly did.
How do you know that?
Because he asked for the check back from the landlord and ripped it up. And I got the money from someone else. And I have a notarized letter.
From whom?
From the person I got the money from.
Where is that person?
She's an 87-year-old lady.
So?
And here's the receipt that I got from the landlord when I rented the place.
Well, I'll see the rent receipt, but not a notarized statement.
Okay.
So just give me the receipt.
Your Honor, that's not true.
It was very easy, Mr. Simon, for you to prove that to me. It would have been very easy for you to prove that to me by bringing me your canceled check. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Now, you have the pink slip, so you took possession of the truck at some point.
30 days after the contract wasn't followed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it states in here, the contract, she was supposed to pay me payments of $200 a month for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And after the first 30 days, I tried to contact Michelle, but she was impossible to get a hold of. And
Just for my information, Miss Ayala, give me the name of the person that you say loaned you or gave you the $950.
Nadine Gabriel.
And who is that?
That is a lady that I take care of twice a week for over a year now.
You take care of her because she's at home?
Yes. It's like an in-home service.
Who's taking care of her today?
I don't do it all the time. It's just twice a week. I take her to her meals and take her to run her errands for her. She stays at home by herself.
Tell me when you asked her for this money.
When he canceled the check, I had nowhere to go. Nowhere. I had my kids. We had already started moving our stuff in. I didn't know he was going to cancel the check. Everything looked fine to me. I had signed the agreement, everything like that. He canceled the check. I went to her home after that, and I was profusely upset, not knowing what I was going to do with my 4 children. It was either live there or be in a shelter. So I was talking to her about it. She said, here, I've got the cash. I've got the cash. Here it is. She doesn't believe in banks, and she gave me the cash to pay, and that's what I paid for.
Fine. Give me her phone number.
Her number's...
So, according to what you said to me, she's a pretty alert lady. There's nothing wrong with her mind, right?
Most of the time, yeah.
What do you mean most of the time?
Well, yeah, she's pretty spry.
Good. Let's give her a buzz.
Okay.
Why don't you all have a seat?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So I need not get into anything else here because you're a liar. Period. End of discussion.
And later today,
I didn't feel like we were going overboard, but
You never do when you're doing shooters of tequila and beer.
Hey,
After the first 2 shooters, you don't know whether you're coming
never
or going.
know.
Yeah.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Simon claims his ex-girlfriend, Michelle Ayala, didn't repay a loan. Michelle says Steve put a stop payment on the loan check.
Order. Step up, please.
Now, Miss Ayala, let's try this again. This 87-year-old lady doesn't answer her phone, so I want you to write out her address. I'm going to get information on the phone to see if this is the right telephone number, because I can't imagine where she might be at this hour.
Well, if you need to let it ring and ring and ring.
I let it ring and ring and ring.
You need her address?
Yes. Would you write it out for Officer Byrd, please? Okay. Why don't you all have a seat here? Nadine Gabriel, Gabriel. Yes. Am I reaching Miss Gabriel? Miss Gabriel, my name is Judge Judy Scheindlin. Judge Judy Scheindlin. And I'm calling because I have a case before me. You know somebody by the name of Mrs. Ayala, who sometimes comes in to take care of you? Okay. Well, I have only one question for you then. Did there come a time recently in the last year that you gave her $950 in cash? Did you give it to her? Did you ever give her, because we're in the middle of having a lawsuit decided now. No, all I'm asking you is, did you ever give her a lot of cash money recently, you know, in the last year? And the amount was that she said was $950. Did you ever give her that kind of money? Please do. Thank you very, very much, Miss Gabriel. You're a very honest lady. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Order.
Miss Ayala, let me tell you what you did first. First, you gave me the wrong phone number. But I'm smarter than you are. On my worst day, I'm smarter than you are on your best day. The second thing you did was that you lied to me. Because Miss Gabriel never gave you the money.
She did.
No, she didn't. She said to me, she said, she asked me for it. And she wanted me to lie for her and say that I did give her the money. She said, but I got too many cats to take care of. And I'm 87 years old, and I wasn't going to give her that money. So I need not get into anything else here, because you're a liar. Period. End of discussion. Now, who's got the truck?
Me.
So I'm going to deal with your counterclaim right now. You're counterclaiming for $5,000 or something because you say he damaged the truck.
Yes, he did.
Right? It's his truck. So if he wants to damage it, if he wants to throw it off a cliff, if he wants to run it into a wall, that's what he can do. And he wants his truck back.
Yes, I do.
You got it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Within 5 days, that truck is to be returned to him. I will prepare the order. 5 days, you get your truck back, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Liar.
It doesn't matter.
Liar.
It doesn't matter. I have
I know
the
it
proof
doesn't
right
matter because
here.
you're a liar.
You're so
You're
immature.
so funny. Look who's immature.
You're immature.
If you're
fighting with a 12-year-old, Steve. That's
No.
immature, okay?
And now the next case.
Parties on Stitsworth versus Collins. Step forward.
47-year-old contractor Kenneth Stitsworth says that his old friend Mark Collins slugged him. Kenneth is suing Mark for medical bills.
How come you both look so nice and normal now? Hard to believe that you could go out and both get blitzed on an evening, which is what happened here, right? Went from one place to another, had a little drinking, old friends, been friends for a long time, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And then, according to you, sir, he assaulted you, and you had medical bills.
That's
How long
correct.
have you known him?
Mark and I have been friends for roughly about 20, 21 years, since about 1967, 68.
Yeah.
Good friends.
So what happened this night?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say, Judge, that there are 3 reasons why I'm here. The first one is obvious, that I'm here to retrieve the costs for the emergency room, number 1. Number 2, in completing this, I look forward to phone calls being stopped at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning discussing this issue. And number 3, I also want to make certain that there won't be any more phone calls to my partners in Northern California at my corporation up there, where Mark is called up drinking and asking for a position with the company. So I want to make certain that those 3 items are taken care of.
All right. So let me dispel any misconception for you, sir. I cannot give you a restraining order with regard to items 2 and 3.
Understood. And pardon me. I'm in hopes that after today that won't be necessary. I just want to bring that up as an issue today so that we can get that at least recognized. So that's my intent.
Recognizing it is, sir, it's like window shopping. I don't like to window shop because if I can't go in and buy something, I don't like to look at it.
Very well.
Similarly, sir, if I can't do anything about it, I'm not going to beat my gums when he's going to say, she doesn't have the power to restrain me from calling his corporate office.
I understand that. That's not an issue to me.
So, Mr. Collins, if you've been calling his corporate office, just some good advice from somebody who's been around the block a little bit. The wise decision would be to cease and desist. Enough said?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As soon as I say that, he wheeled around, sucker punched me, I say, and I could feel a lot of wetness on my face, and I looked and there was blood everywhere, and I just said, Mark, what have you done, man?
Okay.
What have you done?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 47-year-old contractor Kenneth Stitsworth says that his old friend Mark Collins slugged him. Kenneth is suing Mark for medical bills.
Tell me about this evening, Mr. Stitsworth. Come on, let's go.
Okay, the evening started out, Mark had called my home about 2 or 3 days prior to this evening and had asked to come up. I'm in the process of starting some new projects and didn't really have the time to go out and party, although it was the weekend when he was calling.
Okay, let me tell you this. According to these papers, because we were moving along, you thought you were going to discuss business.
I can cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase. That's what we want to get.
The situation is Mark did show up to my home, and we both decided to go out and meet 2 lady friends of mine at a restaurant that's there in the area where I live. We did do that. We went in, we had some tacos, we had a few drinks. Mark and I were drinking shooters of tequila and beer. I didn't feel like we were going overboard, but a little bit later on...
You never do when you're doing shooters of tequila and beer.
Hey,
After the first 2 shooters, you don't know whether you're coming or going.
You never know.
Yeah, you never... One never knows.
Anyway, we got ready to leave. I decided it was about time to leave. We were going to go to another place to shoot pool, which we like to do. We walked outside. The 2 gals that I was with Mark, they both had their cars. I was going to go with one of them. They suggested I go with Mark because he had been drinking. And I said, okay, I'll go with Mark. With that, his car was parked on a real steep incline down in the neighborhood there. It was a dark street. I was following behind him, talking, going along, and he got just about 3 feet from the truck. And I said, Mark, you probably better let me drive. Why don't you let me drive? And with that, no sooner did I say that, he wheeled around, sucker punched me, I say, and I fell backwards, gravity pull, hit the top of my head. I didn't go out, but I got up right away. And I could feel a lot of wetness on my face, and I looked and there was blood everywhere. And I just said, Mark, what have you done, man?
Okay.
What have you done?
You ended up in the emergency room that night, and what was your emergency room bill?
The emergency room bill was $700 and some change, about $720 something, $727. I reluctantly went to the emergency room because I don't like hospitals, but nevertheless, these people advised me to do it. Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, I'd like to have it. All right, Mr. Collins, you're out in the parking lot.
We're in the alley proceeding towards my car.
Let's start at that point.
Okay, I'd come up to see Ken to do business the other way around instead of what he said. Okay.
You're in the alley.
I'm in the alley. He starts this rhetoric about, no, I can't help you out now. I just spent $100 on the tab, and now he wants to go to the next bar. And I'm thinking, I don't have any more money. I was the one paying all the tab. I'm up here trying to do business with this guy. And I've known him for years and what a con artist he is. And I'm fed up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's not good judgment. You're trying to do business with this guy who's a con
Well,
artist.
this was like a last test, you know.
All right, so you were testing.
So I get fed up. I'm walking away. He's behind me, comes up, and he starts saying, I'm going to kick your butt. And, you know, and he pulls my arm back. And I go like that, and then I walk a few more steps, and he comes up and says, change the subject. And he goes, you better let me drive. And he grabs from my keys.
No. What's this? He grabbed your keys.
Well,
he said, you better let me drive.
He grabbed out my hand again.
What?
And he said he was going to kick my, you know what, butt. And I went, I don't think so. And I just went like that.
And you punched him.
And I punched him before he was going to punch me.
And you punched him.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. $727.60. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Judge. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Bank accounts.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Pruetti versus Nutter. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You two ladies are sisters.
Yes, we are.
According to your complaint, this lawsuit originates over a battle involving your mother's death and a will. Is that right?
Yes.
Miss Nutter, pay attention. I gather from these papers that you two had not been close. Is that right?
That's right.
How long hadn't you spoken before your mother died?
It's been approximately 25 years.
Was your mother ill before she died?
Yes, she was.
I understand that there was a will, correct?
Yes, that's right.
All right. While we're discussing this case, can I see a copy of that will? The lawsuit indicates, Miss Pruetti, that when your mother died, there were two bank accounts, one at the World Bank and one at the Home Savings Bank. According to the terms of this will, one bank account was your sister's, correct?
That's right.
And one was yours.
That's right.
And she emptied out both.
That's right.
So far, is that correct?
Yes. Well, sort of.
Okay. This will is relatively simple. It's signed by your mother. In this will, when did your mother die, by the way?
September the 13th, 1997.
So she made this will 8 years before. She left you a World Savings Bank account.
That she did.
And everything else, she said, that was not listed in here, she gave to your sister Linda. And I assume that the Home Savings Bank account is one that she had when she made out this will. Why did you close it? You closed it and took out all the money.
That's right. That's because she gave it to me. She
Sure.
called me up and asked me. Now, wait a minute. There were two accounts at that bank.
At which bank?
At the World Savings.
So let me see all the accounts that you have there, madam, that you closed out. Four, 4, 1. All right. So this is the account. Mother's name is Ruby?
Yes.
I haven't even looked at the other stuff yet. This account she clearly left to you. In this account was $817.50 in September of 1997. And then you closed it.
Yes, ma'am.
So you got $817.
Yes, ma'am.
From that account.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, that clearly she left to you. That's on your side. Now, the other World Savings account had $12,996 in it.
Mm-hmm. That's mine, too.
Who says so?
My name is on it, and she gave it to me.
Oh, just a second. I didn't look at that. Well,
Okay.
don't tell me she gave it to you.
Okay.
Let's see. Whose name was this account in? Okay. Absolutely right. So, Miss Pruetti, this account your mother opened as trustee for your sister Shelby. So clearly, when she opened this account, it was her intention to have Shelby be the recipient of these funds. Got it?
Yes.
So, Miss Nutter?
Yes, ma'am.
This is on your side.
Sorry.
This is on your side. Now, let's go look at the Home Savings Bank. Do you have a statement from the Home Savings Bank?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? Now, you withdrew from the Home Savings Bank $1,296.63.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to me why you think you have any right to this money.
Because my mother had called me up and she had asked me if I wanted the mobile home or if I wanted the money. And she didn't say how much money. And I said the money. She says, okay, then that's the way it will be.
Oh, madam, come on. You played fast and loose. That's not right. This clearly your mother intended for you because it has your name on it. Your mother clearly intended anything that was not included in this account at the World Bank to go to your sister. You had a whole laundry list of things that you were getting, and everything else was supposed to be to your sister. Go ahead. You want to tell me something?
Yes, Your Honors. On November 19th, I wrote my sister a letter informing her of the will, telling her that I was going to give her until December 15th in order for her to respond to me.
She'd already taken the money out, right?
By November 19th, yes, she had.
did.
She'd already taken it out.
She took it out in October.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the point of
I
that?
let 47 days go by because I was told by my mother that I was the recipient of the home checking account. My sister had not spoken to her mother in at least 12 years.
That's not so.
It doesn't make any difference. Listen, this account is yours.
So I gave her to December 15th in order to respond to me. I let her know that I was aware that she did take the money out, and I was waiting for her to send me a copy of the check with the statement. I then sent her a copy of our mother's will at that time. That's how she got the copy of the will. She did not have a copy of the will prior to going to the bank.
Did you tell her that there was a will?
I read the will to her in her mobile home at the time when my daughter and I went to her mobile home, and when we got word of her death. We read her the will. I gave her the will to view for her own self. She took whatever possessions she wanted. She says, but I'd like to have this, and I want this, and I want that. And I said, it was your mother, too. You take whatever you wanted. She did, Your Honor, take whatever she wanted, and I gladly gave it to her. She told me that our separation had been much, much too long. She hugged me. She took us out to lunch.
I did do that.
She took us out to lunch. She said that she wanted to, Your Honor, divide everything 50-50, everything. We said our goodbyes at the funeral home on the 4th day. She hugged me. She said goodbye to my children. None of her children went to the funeral. And then off she rode into the sunset with a brand new car that she had bought with a minimal down payment on the day of her death, and went down and bragged to me when I spoke with her that she went down on the day of the funeral, took the money out of the account and paid her car off and laughed. She thought it was hysterical.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Everybody else was crying over her grandma, you know, she died and everything like that. And Aunt Shelby said, gosh, I thought the old lady died, the old bag died 12 years ago. I haven't seen her in so long.
And later today.
Did you fix the cesspool, I hope?
When I asked him for the money, he told me I could, why don't you just use an outhouse?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Linda Pruetti wants her sister, Shelby Nutter, to share the money in their deceased mother's bank accounts.
Miss Pruetti, you understand that I am finding that the money in the account at the home bank belonged to you.
Thank you.
That was $1,296.63. That's what was there.
Thank you.
Correct?
Yes.
Well, that's what you're entitled to.
Thank you.
She did the wrong thing. She knows she did the wrong thing. She just beat you to the bank.
That's what she says. She laughed. She thought it was funny. She called me greedy. She says, you're greedy. I thought you would have gotten there before me.
Listen, it sounds to me as if you did pretty well. You got almost, I don't know, how much? $13,000? $14,000? A lot more than $1,296.
Not just that, I got more than that.
Good. Good.
Well, let me tell you. A check came to the house, a dividend check on my account with my name on it. She took it.
How do you know she took it?
Lady 2 doors down called me up and told me so. She saw the amount, told me that I knew
Listen,
the
madam,
amount.
you know that this is a court. If you have a witness...
Here.
Shh, listen to me. If you have a witness, you bring in a witness. Did you ever take a dividend check that belongs to her?
No, ma'am.
Hmm?
How could the lady know the amount of it?
Maybe she took it.
That old lady didn't take it.
You did the wrong thing. You knew what your mother had intended in her will.
Yes,
and whether
I
you
did.
spoke to your sister or not, whether you were estranged your sisters or not, whether you liked your mother or not, when someone dies, especially a parent, what's supposed to happen is they are entitled to dispose of their property any way they want to dispose of it. And your mother took great care in her will to leave certain things to you. Why she outlined them specifically, that these were the things that you were getting and everything else went to your sister, I don't know. Maybe your mother was smarter than...
She wasn't even on the list of people to be notified if she died. That's why she didn't know till Sunday. I sent the sheriffs over to tell her. She didn't want to know she was dead until she was gone and buried a week, because she knew she'd have her bones picked clean before they even got cold, what she told me.
Oh. Is that what she told you? You know,
Yes,
you talk to a lot of people.
That's what she told me.
You talk to a lot of people.
I talked to my mother.
How often did you go and visit your mother in the last month that she was alive?
Well,
just not well. Well is not an answer.
My daughter was in a very serious car accident.
Listen to me, Miss Nutter.
I didn't
Give
go
me your
at
whole
all.
story.
I didn't even know where she was or where she moved to.
So the answer is I didn't go and see her at all.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,296.63. This case is over. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right.
She's a brute, she's malicious, and she's mean. Ever since I was born, she beat me up. She beat me up all my life. All my life. She was intimidating. She's a brute. She's not nice. She's very special.
Well, Mom liked me best.
Tell me.
I gotta go.
That's true. That's true.
And now the next case.
Parties on. McIsaac versus Coletti. Step forward, please.
22-year-old Keith McIsaac claims neighbor Dennis Coletti, 29, ran his truck over his lawn and destroyed his cesspool. Dennis is countersuing Keith for a cracked windshield.
Wait till you hear this one.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Neighbors.
Somewhat.
What does that mean?
We're a few houses apart.
I didn't say next door neighbors. I said your neighbors.
Okay.
And you got a new truck.
Yes.
And you were a friend of his?
Yes.
So you wanted to show him your new truck, right?
Well, yeah, I wanted to show him an accessory I added to the truck.
So why don't you tell me what you did?
I called him up. I asked him to come down to my house. He said he was very busy. He had a lot of things going on, and that he wouldn't be able to make it down to my house right away. I said, well, I'll come over and show you. So I drove up to his stoop, across his grass, and parked next to his stoop and got out and showed him my truck.
Across my grass.
Across your lawn.
Right.
Well, he's done it to me in the past.
Just a sec. I don't care whether he's done it to you or not. That's not the subject of this lawsuit, sir. The subject of this lawsuit is 5 minutes after you drove your truck off his property, what happened?
My cesspool caved in. It was a little more than 5 minutes, but it caved in within a half an hour. The whole thing caved in.
Well, cesspool's 50 years old anyway.
Shh. Hey, don't talk to him. Talk to me. Can I please see the pictures of the damage to the driveway, to the lawn? You have estimates?
Yes.
Let me see them.
I have the paid cesspool bill, which when I gave to him, he crumpled up, ripped up, and threw at me. And I have estimates, which the work isn't done on yet.
What are you showing me here?
I'm showing you the collapsed wall, the collapsed rail tie wall that fell in.
When
My
did you take
shrubs,
these pictures?
When it happened.
When it happened?
Yes.
And what was the total estimate to fix this cesspool?
Total estimate for the cesspool, I believe, was $1,200.
And what are all these plantings here? You got 5 azaleas, boxwood trees.
Those are the trees that I lost in the cave-in.
You don't lose any trees in the cave-in. You didn't even take care of your stuff in the beginning.
First of all, I lost all those trees. Those are the estimates I got on the trees that I lost.
Show me.
Shrubs.
You never watered your shrubs. They're all dead.
Do I look like I need help from you?
No.
I mean, you were foolish enough to begin with, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're 28 years old. You're supposed to be a responsible human being. You have a wife. You have a child. You don't take a truck and drive it on somebody else's lawn. That's stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Keith McIsaac says his neighbor, Dennis Coletti, ran his truck over his lawn, destroying his cesspool. Dennis says Keith cracked his windshield.
How old are you?
28.
Is this your house that you live in?
Yeah.
It's your house. You own this house?
Yes.
Who else lives there in the house with you?
My wife and child.
Did you fix the cesspool, I hope?
I fixed the cesspool. It took me 3 days to get the money up. I had to pay cash for it. And when I asked him for the money, he told me I could, why don't you just use an outhouse?
Oh. This bill that you got for concrete and all that other kind of stuff, $1,625?
Right.
What was that for?
That was for the driveway. I caved in.
The driveway caved in around the cesspool?
Part of the driveway caved in with the cesspool, when the cesspool caved in.
Just a piece of it?
A piece of it.
But you had to replace the...
Well, I had, you know, if it was going to be replaced at one part, why should I have to suffer and look at that when he drove on my lawn?
So you had the whole thing done?
I didn't have it done yet. That's just an estimate. I have to, I'm trying to get the money, you know.
All right. Sir.
Yes.
Your answer says that you did him a favor because the cesspool was 45 years old and would have caved in anyway sooner or later. That was your answer,
Well,
right?
Every other cesspool in the neighborhood has caved in at one time or another, except for maybe one or two.
But you pushed his you pushed his a little bit quicker.
Well, my truck didn't fall in with it after I left his property. His cesspool happened to cave in as a coincidence.
helped it out.
It's a terrible coincidence, but it did happen
It's
that
not
way.
a coincidence. Oh.
Now that I have a figure on here on the cesspool and the damage on the cesspool from these bills, let's talk about your counterclaim. Wait till you hear this counterclaim.
Would you like to see the pictures of him driving on my grass?
I don't care about him driving on your grass, sir. I don't care about him driving on your grass.
But it's just a manner in which we visit each other, and
That's
you
not
know,
on the,
maybe
it's not on
it
the
is
grass. The
childish.
pictures that you have does not show the car on the grass.
Maybe it's childish behavior.
I'm
but
going to give you 3. I'm going to count to 3. And then if you both don't shut up, I'm going to throw you both out. I won't hear your case. Do you understand? All right. So you're counterclaiming for $300. You want to tell me what kind of damage you did and when this was?
Well, the dollar amount that the estimate was changed to $119.08, based on an estimate I got. I was under bad information when I gave that $300 claim.
$119.08 for what?
A windshield, my wife's car.
All right. Now tell me about the windshield.
We went away on vacation, my wife and I and my child, and we were good friends, and Keith used to house it, and I have dogs, and he would at times when I left the house for extended periods of time take care of the animals in the house and watch over the house and feed my dogs and whatnot. And we came back from our vacation to find our dogs were never fed, and my wife's windshield was broken on a car. That was the only damage that I could put a dollar amount on. Outside of everything else he did in disaster.
$119.08 is for the windshield.
Yes.
What happened to the windshield on the car?
I have no idea what he's talking about with the windshield on the car.
When did this happen, sir?
When we came back from vacation.
When?
Oh,
month, year?
June of '96.
June of '96?
Yeah.
What a life.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All right. June of '96. I mean, you're going to go back in history? We're going to go back to the year of the flood? If he didn't fix the windshield on your car, when was the first time you told him you wanted him to fix the windshield on your car?
When we came back after I realized it was broken. And he said he didn't break it.
So, did you sue him?
No.
So you waited until this?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye on the counterclaim. You owe him $2,825 so he can fix his driveway and he can fix his cesspool. You're 28 years old. You're supposed to be a responsible human being. You have a wife. You have a child. You don't take a truck and drive it on somebody else's lawn. That's stupid. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go, man.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. Pregnant, Denise lost the baby. Now Vincent wants them to share the medical costs.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Judge, this is number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Heron versus Brown. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
This is a sad case. Sit down. Pay attention to me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Heron, this is your daughter, I assume.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are suing the defendant, who is the mother of this young man, I assume.
Yes, I am.
Because you say that her son made your daughter pregnant. She had a miscarriage. Your medical bills for the miscarriage were almost $2,000, and you want her to pay half. Is that what this lawsuit is about?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'd like you to step up here. You too. When did your daughter tell you she was pregnant?
The date was, what was the date? I don't
End of September, I believe.
It was around the end of September. That's when I learned of it.
Were you dating?
Yes.
Ms. Brown.
Yes.
I know what the lawsuit is with regard to Mr. Heron. I'd like to hear from you as to why you don't believe you should be responsible for half of these medical bills. Your son is how old, 16?
16, yes. First of all, I don't believe that I'm responsible for half these medical bills because there was never a paternity test to prove that Dontrell was a father. Plus, all the stress that her dad put on her after he found out she was pregnant. I think it was about the latter part of August, I got a call from Mr. Heron telling me that Denise had got caught shoplifting a home pregnancy test, and he was really upset, and telling me that he had been nice to Dontrell, and Dontrell had took advantage, and when I told him, well, it wasn't all Dontrell's fault, and then he tells me, well, yeah, she's the one that came to your house like a common, and laid up with them. And so then the next thing I know, she's crying, saying that he had beat her.
Who beat her?
Her father, because he wasn't gonna let her have a, can I say the word?
I would prefer you didn't.
Okay, well, baby. And she stayed with her friends' houses, and even my daughter was concerned about her and was gonna let her stay with her because she was going through a bunch of turmoil. And I feel that all the stress that he put on her, and first of all, you know that being pregnant for the first time, you're scared as it is.
Well, how old are you?
16.
16?
And to have undue stress and pressure put on you by someone that's supposed to be protecting you then. So I feel that he caused the miscarriage by all the stress, and that there was never a paternity test to say that Dontrell was a father. I don't see how he can tell me that I'm responsible for half the medical bills.
Mr. Heron, I'd like to hear from you.
Yes. This is absurd for them to even suggest that her son is not the father. It's an insult and it's appalling.
Well, I don't think it's an insult and it's appalling, Mr. Heron, at all. Quite frankly. I'll address that. I'll address that first, and then I'll get to the stress part.
I would like to say that my daughter has been an honor student for her tenure in school. She's currently the treasurer of her high school. She was elected that. She doesn't sleep around or fool around or anything. This was the only boy that she had been seeing. And the first time I met this young man was he had been arrested for drugs at his junior high school. Helen here, she's is pulling, anything, this stuff about beating Denise is just totally absurd.
Is that true, sir?
It's absolutely not.
Did your father hit you, Denise?
No. No.
Would you tell me if he did?
Yes.
There's,
Mr. Heron, what Ms. Brown is saying is not so bizarre as you may think, sir. Two 16-year-olds having sex unprotected, whether it was with him or with anybody else, is stupid. 2 16-year-olds having sex is stupid. 2 16-year-olds having unprotected sex is more stupid, or as my grandson would say, stupider. So, while I'm certain that Dontrell would probably stand up here and proclaim from the rooftops that this was his baby, is that right?
Yes. Well, even after the miscarriage, they stopped by the house. She even offered to help Denise raise the child. You know.
His mother is a little more practical. His mother says, I'm not sure, because 16-year-old with all that testosterone flowing says, yes, the baby is mine. His mother says, how can you be sure?
Well, it's the only thing she has for her defense. This is her defense in chief, and it's all she's got.
Well, Mr. Herron, it's a very good defense, sir.
Well, when I asked her to, you didn't offer, you know, a dime, and she knows deep in her heart. She professes to be a Christian and to come to this court and even suggest that he's not the father.
That's not what she's suggesting, sir. She's not suggesting that he's not the father.
But there's a possibility that...
What she's saying is, under the law, in this jurisdiction and in every other jurisdiction, when you have a child out of wedlock, there is no presumption as who the father is. And in order to determine that, we now have very sophisticated testing to determine parentage of children. You know about those tests. They have blood tests, they have DNA tests, and they can prove within 100% who's the father of that child. What Ms. Herron is saying is, under the law, there is no proof that Dontrell is the father of this child. When you're married, it's a different story. When you're married, the law presumes that you are.
So we're left to go with a preponderance of the evidence here, which my daughter doesn't sleep around. They know that. They know what kind of girl she is. She doesn't have time for it. She's an honor student. She's, you know, keep track of her, you know, as best I can.
You didn't keep track of her very well, sir.
But if she was such an
Just a second, you didn't keep track of her very well.
Well, I said as best I can. You know, I do operate a business, and
Mr. Herron, that's what Ms. Brown is saying.
But if she was such an honorable student and such an honorable person, she wouldn't have swore to tell the truth and then turned around and lied that you never beat her.
You're the one who's...
Because
listen to me, don't fight with each other. Did you tell Dontrell, who was your boyfriend, that your father hit you at some point in the kitchen in your home? Because that's what's in these papers. Did you tell... No, look at me, don't look at the floor, Ms. Herron. Did you tell that to him?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If my 16-year-old daughter came home pregnant, I guarantee you there'd be a lot of stress in my household. A lot of stress.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. The father of 16-year-old Denise Herron wants Helen Brown to pay the medical cost for Denise's miscarriage because he says Helen's son, Dontrell, was the father.
Did you tell Dontrell, who was your boyfriend, that your father hit you?
Yes. Yes, I was upset.
So you told that to Dontrell, that your father hit you. What did you tell him about your father hitting you?
What do you mean, what did I tell?
I want you to tell me what you told him.
I said that he was yelling and got mad at me and started hitting on me.
Where did he hit you? Where did he hit you?
He didn't. I just told him that. I was upset.
Well, why would you tell him that?
Because I was scared he was going to.
So what you did was you told Dontrell a lie. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you understand, Mr. Herron?
Yeah, I understand that I'm out $2,000 in medical bills for an instance that I'm not responsible for. And
listen, you are responsible for it. You are responsible for it because this is your daughter.
Yeah, I can't watch all the time just saying that she can't watch her son, but nonetheless, we're responsible for our minor's actions.
Absolutely
now,
right,
I'm willing
sir.
to accept the risk, but why should the burden of this whole thing be placed on me?
Mr. Herron, if your daughter had not had this miscarriage, and if she had had a child, and if there was a paternity test, if there was a paternity test, and if it was established that this young man was the father of the child, he would be responsible for the support of that child, along with your daughter, until the child reached age 21. Right now, what Ms. Brown is saying is that while she believes probably that Dontrell is the father of this child, she's not certain. And she's not certain because of the miscarriage, there is no opportunity to conduct blood tests. And they are not married, so the law does not presume her son is the father of this child. So she doesn't feel as if she should be responsible. And in the law,
Well,
she's
certain. She knows. It's
How
only
does she know? Listen, the only way you can be certain is if you were there.
That's true. The only, she knows, though she's not admitting to it, you know. She knows. If you ask her in her heart if she feels that there could be anybody other than her son, what would you say, Helen? Does Denise
What's
sleep
in my
around?
heart? I don't know what
Your heart-
Denise
you-
does. I
Ms.
don't
Brown,
watch
tell the
Denise.
court what you think.
I don't watch Denise 24 hours a day, but up until this
Does
point,
you don't watch him 24 hours.
May I speak, please? I really, like I said, when all of this happened, Denise came to me and I opened up my home and I was there for her. And I really had hoped that she would be lady enough to tell the truth here. But if she can stand here and lie and say that he never hit her and he didn't put her out, why should I believe that it was my son's baby? Because it's so easy for her to tell one lie, she could have told another lie.
Well, what she's already done is she's acknowledged here, after some prodding, that she did, in fact, she says, lie to your son about her father beating her. Now, whether her father beat her or not is really not the issue, but it is an indication that your daughter is able to lie, sir, because she says she lied to him. You understand that? And I understand where you're coming from. You say, listen, there should be two people's responsibility.
Well,
I absolutely agree with you, Mr.
Quite
Herron.
a bit of lying going on. It seems as if Mr. Trell here would be following in his father's footsteps, who I guess is...
What does his father have to do with
Mr. Herron, don't bring... I would suggest,
Well-
sir, that you not bring other matters into this case which really bear no relevance to it. Dontrell, I'm going to tell you this. You believe that you were the father of this child?
Yes.
Then you pay back Mr. Herron. Do you understand?
Yes.
Then you, sir, have a moral, if not a legal obligation, to do that. Now, you go to school?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you work at?
At a senior citizens home.
How much do you get paid?
$5 an hour.
And what do you do with that money?
Oh, I haven't gotten paid.
Speak
yet.
up, sir.
I haven't gotten paid yet, ma'am.
When did you start working there?
It's just a summer job.
And you're going to keep that summer job?
Yes.
Well, then I would suggest, Mr. Brown, that if you want to try to get back into this family's reasonable graces, you're never going to get into their good graces, but reasonable, and assume some sort of moral responsibility for an act that you probably had something to do with, you will see to it that each time you get a paycheck, Mr. Herron gets a check or a money order. Do you understand?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
What are you looking at? Where are you looking? All over the place. Do you understand that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got to learn to keep your pants zipped up, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Vincent Herron says Helen Brown's teenage son made his teenage daughter pregnant, so they should share the medical costs.
Your mother is quite correct. She's not responsible because they're not able to establish, because there's no baby here, that you're the father of this child. If you believe that you are, sir, you pay for it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, are you going to do it?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
No, I don't.
And I'm the only one lying here?
Just a second. I'm telling you this. I don't know whether you two young people still see each other, either with your parents' knowledge or without their knowledge. But if there is any remote possibility that you will have a long-term relationship, any, you better start paying back Mr. Herron. And listen to me, Denise. Look at me. I'm not going to ask you whether you still see him, because I'm not going to create any more difficulty than already exists. But if he doesn't start making those payments, starting this week when he gets paid to your father, I would suggest to you that he does not have the kind of character that you want to hook up with permanently. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good.
Your Honor, would a
Yes.
preponderance of the evidence suggest here that if he says that he's the father, I know that he is, Denise knows, Helen knows, But wouldn't the preponderance of the evidence indicate that I should get some kind of judgment?
Absolutely not, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely not, sir.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a
It's
preponderance. Listen to
as
me.
much in her favor as it is in mine.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You could bring anybody in off the street and say, I believe that they're the father of this unborn child. I want to be paid half of my outlay of medical costs. The only question that I asked your daughter here today, Mr. Heron, was whether or not you beat her. She said initially no. Then we went back to her and I said, did you tell him that your father beat you? She said yes. Listen to me. You say it never happened. That means somebody is lying. Do you understand?
There's no record of violence at our house at all.
No, listen to me. Your daughter said, Mr. Heron, that she told Dontrell that you beat her. That was, therefore, according to you, a lie. Is that right?
What does that have to do with the responsibility of the medical bills here? This is what I'm suing for.
Mr. Heron, you wanted, in order for you to establish, to my satisfaction, by a preponderance of the evidence, sir, that this unborn child was his child, I would have to believe...
He said, I said it, she
no,
said it. She's
I would have to believe your daughter. In a situation where the law in this jurisdiction does not hold any presumption of paternity. I am not prepared to do that. The only thing I am prepared to do is to make a moral judgment that if this young man believes that he is the father of this child, then he has the moral responsibility at age 16 to defray some of the medical costs. But his mother does not have that responsibility because she is entitled to know whether her son fathered this child before she puts her hand in her pocket.
But yet I'm responsible for my minor. She's not responsible for hers, you know.
No, sir, unfortunately, as the father of a daughter, that's true. That's true. It seems somewhat inequitable. That's what they have paternity tests for, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Could I suggest this? Without the paternity test to indicate that it's 1 in a million chance, is there a possibility of getting part of the judgment? I mean, instead of saying that I'm wrong totally, I mean...
No, Mr. Heron, I just told you he's supposed to pay the whole $900 because that's half of your medical bills, $900 and some odd dollars. What is it?
With me saying that I think the baby is mine, but would it matter the cause of the miscarriage? Like,
no. Doesn't matter the cause of the miscarriage, sir. That's what you put in your answer. You say because her father placed her under a great deal of stress. No. Listen to me. I'm going to get on his case. I want you to be quiet. What you're saying is because her father placed her under a great deal of stress, that caused the miscarriage. And therefore, you shouldn't be responsible. I want to tell you something. If my 16-year-old daughter came home pregnant, right, and the father, she said, was another 16-year-old who went to high school, I guarantee you there'd be a lot of stress in my household. A lot of stress. You got to learn to keep your pants zipped up, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Keep yourself busy. Get 2 jobs. Think. Use your brain. You know, this is the time for you to use your brain. I know using other parts of your anatomy don't require that much effort, all right? But get 2 jobs because he's out money, and if what you believe is true, that you are the father of this child, if you believe that, then you have a responsibility, even at age 16, to help defray the costs. We understand each other?
Yes.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
On the next Judge Judy. Alyssa goes with Steve. Steve and Maria had a baby. Alyssa says Maria keyed her Mustang.
Don't give me a lot of baloney. I know everything.
Real people. Judge Judy. 1-year-old Jason Hager to pay the damage caused to his pickup truck after clubbing it. Jason claims it was self-defense.
Order. All rise. Judge number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Hager. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Shame on you both. always strikes me is when two adult men get into a car and get into a contest and let their testosterone take off and rule their heads, there's trouble, especially when there's a child in the car, like this gorgeous little blonde thing. Mr. Miller, you're suing Mr. Hager because you say that after some sort of a dispute in your car, he was driving his, you yours, he attacked your car with a club.
Yes.
And caused almost $400 worth of damage to the car. Tell me how it started, sir.
I was making a turn off of Valley View Street. I was going south. There's a frontal road there beside of it. Hager was coming, going south also on it. He run the stop sign. And as a result of it, I almost hit him. If I hadn't stopped, I would have hit him. I blew my horn. He raised his finger at me, and we proceeded down the frontal road.
So you're both now going in the same direction?
We're both going in the same direction.
And this is your grandchild?
Yes.
She was in the car with you?
Yes.
Where was she sitting, front or back?
Well, it was a pickup, so she's in the front.
Right next to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We came to an alley that runs down behind a shopping mall, and we proceeded down it, and we got to the end of the stores.
Which car was first and which car was second?
He was following me.
Just a second. His car was first, your car was second.
Yes.
Were you following him, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I was behind him. I mean,
were you following?
I'm going in that direction.
He was chasing me.
Shh, just a second. I'm going to get to you in a second, sir. You said you got to an alley.
Well, it's an alley, and it's also behind the store, but it's a parking lot also.
Well, were you going into that parking lot, sir?
No, I wasn't going into the parking lot.
So you were actually not behind him. You were following him.
Okay, I was following him.
Now, why were you following him?
So I could get his tag number.
Okay. And then what happened?
As we got to the end of the stores, there's also another small frontal road that leads to the front of the stores. He partially made the turn and stopped, jumped out, grabbed his club, and ran at me while I'm stopped. I had, in the meantime, stopped. He ran about 30 feet towards my truck, ran up to the side of me, took a swing at me. I pulled my truck forward, and he hit the back of my cab.
Can I see the damage to your car?
If you'll notice, Your Honor, the damage is at an angle as if he was swinging something, and you'll see that it's also right in line with me in the truck. So if I hadn't pulled forward, he would have hit me in the truck.
This has an open top, sir?
No, it's you looking at? May I get it to you? Oh, come on, surely. I take better pictures than that.
I got it. I got it now. Oh, I thought it was a convertible truck. I hadn't seen one of those. All right. Now I got it. All right, Mr. Hager, let's hear you, sir.
Well, what he said is correct as far as he was following me. I was very close to my home. I didn't want him, I wasn't going to go home knowing he was following me. I became fearful, wasn't sure what I should do. So yeah, I stopped, and in an attempt to defend myself, knowing that not knowing what he's going to do, I did take my club. He sees me stop. He's coming at me. He puts his head out the window of his truck and says, "I'm going to run you over." That's when he started to come at me with the truck. I jump out of the way, and he backs up a little bit and comes at me again. The second time is when he came close enough to me that I could swing and hit the truck.
All right, so I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hager. You live in that area, sir?
Yes. I was less than a block away from my home.
And how long have you lived there?
About 18 months.
So you know where the local police precinct is?
Actually, I found it after this.
You mean you didn't know before?
No. Well, it's a very large city. I wasn't sure where to go.
I don't believe you, sir. You see, I see this. You see, I see this around here.
Well,
and I'm like a truth machine. So don't tell me that you didn't know where to find a policeman.
I went to. Well, no, that would have been the alternative. Was drive around.
That's an alternative rather than getting out of your car with a club.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem to me to be logical, sir, that if you're in fear of your life, you are defending yourself against a 2-ton truck with a 2-pound club.
Right.
You see, that doesn't make sense. To me, what makes sense is if you're in fear, you stay in your car. What kind of a car were you driving?
A Camaro.
So you stay in your Camaro and you drive around until you see a police car, if you don't know where the local police precinct is.
Right.
Right.
But I thought of that after, but in the fear, I wasn't thinking that logically.
Listen to me, Mr. Hager. Why were you in fear, sir? You were in your car, windows closed, right? Windows closed.
No.
You could have closed the windows, Mr. Hager, right? You do have electric windows in your Camaro?
Yes.
So you press a button, you close the window, and you keep driving, and you say to yourself, I got some nut here behind me. I'm not going to get out of this car. I'm going to stay in my car. But you get out of your car. Where was the club?
On the passenger seat.
You pick up the club, and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Wonder how afraid he was when he stuck his finger up. Could we ask him that question?
And later today,
Make me look like a liar. Make me look bad when you know you was stripping and you know you was working. Nicole, don't stand there and lie.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bird Miller says Jason Hager's gesture led to violence, smashing Bird's pickup.
You pick up the club and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager. It doesn't, it's illogical, sir.
To drive around looking for the police, I needed to, at some point, decide I'm going to stop and defend myself. That was it.
Defend yourself against what, sir?
This gentleman.
He's in his car.
I don't know that he's going to threaten to run me over. I think he's going to get out.
How can he run you over in your Camaro, sir? Sitting in your car, how can he run you over, Mr. Hager?
He can't.
Right. Sitting in your car, he can't run you over. Only when you're outside of your car, standing there armed with a weapon, can he run you over. Your mistake was getting out of the car. And then you hit his truck. So you were in a combat posture with a weapon. I mean, I'm not suggesting that what this man did was correct. I think, Mr. Miller, to be quite honest with you, sir, you're old enough to use your brains, and if this guy ran a stop sign, as you say, of course, you didn't run the stop sign. Is that correct?
Correct.
I knew that. I knew that's what you would say. But you have a very precious cargo. Not you, her. And so if you have a very precious cargo, and if you were fortunate enough, and God was watching you, and you didn't have an accident at that stop sign, you take a deep breath, and you say, phew, finished. I'm grateful that there was no accident, and you keep going. If you can get his license, that's fine. But to follow him into an alley is not swift.
It's really not an alley, Your Honor. I understand what you're saying, but
you understand what I'm saying.
I don't mean it's a,
I understand, but you got hot.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm not denying it at all.
Yeah, well, you want to get hot with you alone in the car. That's one thing, but you don't get hot when you have a baby in the car, especially a baby that looks like that.
Could I add something to this?
Sure, sir.
Okay. He said I almost hit him there at the stop sign. If you look at the pictures, you will see there's a medium between Valley View and where he would have been sitting. So, in other words, I would have had to jump across the medium in order to hit him.
Interesting, not terribly relevant, because we're not talking about what happened at the stop sign. What we're talking about was Mr. Hager's. You both exercised poor judgment on that day, in my view. But Mr. Hager's judgment is going to cost him the amount that you claim you spent or will spend to fix your car, and I assume you have a bill for that.
Your Honor, I have a bill for the damage. I don't have a bill for a rental car. It'll take 3 days to fix the truck, which is $25 a day.
Well, Mr. Miller, for your bad judgment, it's going to cost you to rent your car.
All right.
For his bad judgment, it's going to cost him to fix your car. And the grand total here is $279.80 to fix your car. Mr. Hager, it was a very dumb thing that you did, because he may not have been the kind of person that he is, and he may have, in fact, run you over. And your two-pound club wasn't going to help you. So,
well, you know, my question is, if he cares enough about this truck to get it fixed, why is he chasing people and threatening them with it?
Mr. Hager, he wasn't smart to try to chase you to get your plate number, and I assume that that's what he was trying to do. He did not get out of his cab. You got out of your car. Dumb. Stupid. And not only did you get out of your car, you got out of your car with a weapon. So it's going to cost you. The amount it's going to cost you is the amount that it's going to cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Thank you, Bill. Out the back door to your right, please.
Come on.
And now the next case.
Parties on Cruz. Ambrosini versus Hernandez. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend, Moses Cruz, claim exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez owes them a refund on a condo.
You folks were living in the same hotel that the defendant was living in temporarily. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you became friends?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Well, we didn't become friends there. We became friends at work.
Okay. Don't tap. And there came a time when you were going to buy a condo. Is that right?
Yes.
And you approached the defendants to see if they wanted to rent a room in your condo that you were purchasing.
Exactly.
According to these papers, you said yes?
Yes.
And you needed some money.
Exactly.
How much money did you need?
$700.
And as sort of a down payment on their room, you gave her the $700?
Correction, Your Honor, that was $750. I have 2 contracts here signing. I had to pay a $500 first month and a $250 security deposit.
Okay, can I see what you have there,
yes,
please?
ma'am. These are 2 pieces of evidence that I have, 2 contracts that Lisette signed herself.
Okay, fine. So let's assume it was $750. This is some contract.
I was in a rush, Your Honor. Grabbed the first thing I could. The next one's better.
Okay. And then, for some reason, which I'm sure that you will tell me, you decided not to move into the condo, and she gave you back $100, according to these papers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
And you want the other $650.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
No. I'm sorry, I'm 16
and I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000, and she know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend, Moses Cruz, want the money back on a condo from exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez. Lisette says they moved out without giving notice.
Well, there came a time, I gather from these papers, that you moved out of the hotel but did not move right into the condo.
Right, Your Honor.
Where did you move?
Okay, at that time, we needed a place.
This is your boyfriend?
Yes. Yes, this is my boyfriend, Moses. We were looking for another location to live while we were waiting for the condo. We were going to just stay in the hotel. It was very expensive, so Lisette kindly offered us to stay in her boyfriend's house and pay $100 a week. We did that, and we stayed there for about 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, and we paid him for every week. At that time, we were told that she needed the money immediately, and we gave that money to her within 3 days because she had said she had a closing to meet. And it would
Closing on the condo.
Yes.
I understand that.
She said it would be about a month to get it, okay? So in our minds, we're thinking, okay, we only have to tough this out for about a month. We wound up not getting a condo or not moving into a place for 3 months. We were waiting to move in for
It
3
wasn't
months.
3 months.
Just a minute.
For 3 months, Your Honor.
Did you stay in the boyfriend's house for 3 months?
Yes. No, we did not. We stayed in the boyfriend's house for about 3 weeks.
It was about a month.
The other
It's about a
times we
month.
were staying at the hotel, and then my father was moving out of his apartment, and he was moving out half of the month early. So
you moved someplace else.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
But there came a time when you ultimately said to her, I don't want to move
Yes.
in.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in, I guess, February, March, April.
How
in
much
April.
after you had left the hotel and moved into the boyfriend's house did you tell her, I want my money back, I don't want to move in?
About a month. Your
About a
Honor.
month.
That's a lie.
Okay, you tell me.
That's a lie. It was one day. Okay, this is what happened. When they moved into the apartment with my boyfriend, with me and my boyfriend, they was paying $100 a week,
You're
which is
clicking.
true. Okay, now, when they was moving out, I didn't know they was moving out. My boyfriend tells me one day, Lisette, do you know that they moving out? I said, what? He said, yeah, they moving out. I said, no, I don't know nothing about it. He said, well, I'm getting ready to leave, so when I leave, you talk to them and ask them. When I came to you and asked her, I said, Nicole, y'all moving out? She said, yeah, we moving out.
We
My
were
father
thinking
left
about
me.
moving out.
Wait a minute. My father
Moses.
left me. My father left me an apartment, and I'm going to move into it, and we're going to keep paying the rent there or whatever to stay there. I said to her, so what do you expect me to do? You expect me to take the money right now and just give it to you when I don't have it? You know I'm trying to get this condominium, and I don't have the money right now to give to you. Okay, but before that happened, one day we had went out, or we was working or whatever. She was waitressing, and I was working in the place where we was working at. I made $4,000 that day, and I said to Nicole, I said, here, you know, I gave her like $1,200 to help her out or whatever. I never asked her for the money back. I never said nothing to her.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Your Honor,
That's exactly what it was, $1,200.
Miss Hernandez, I'm going to simplify this. I've just, while you've been telling me this whole story, been looking at these 2 papers. These 2 papers, I assume that you recall signing. Is that right?
Right, and I agreed to pay her back the money. I did.
Okay, so you
And
signed
I told
the,
her that I would
well,
pay for it as
you
soon as
signed
I
the
be able to get the
contract.
money.
You signed the contract. So you owe her the money.
Right.
How much did you pay her back?
$100.
So you owe her $650.
Right, but she moved to Texas. But how did she expect me? I live in
We gave
Florida.
her
She lives, hold up. She gave me an address and expects me to make her money order every week and send her $50.
She said she would do
stamp
that.
and everything.
Moses.
I said to her, let me finish.
sorry,
They said they
Moses.
will come back to they was moving back to Florida, whatever.
Miss Hernandez.
She said that.
Moses.
Moses.
You got to train him better.
I try, Your Honor. I
You
try.
got to try harder. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late. Do you understand?
Yeah.
They get into bad habits.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Hernandez, you owe her the $650.
Right.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $650.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I wanted to make this easier for you, but in that time that I was struggling, trying to get money back, broke, Lisette wasn't paying us, my mother, who is a witness here today, sent me $300. I was living independently at the time.
Wait, what are you lecturing
exactly.
about? Just a second. What are you lecturing about? You sued for $650.
That's all
I
I
gave
owe
you $650.
Okay.
Say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nerves.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the news. But Catherine says Carrie neglected and humiliated her son by leaving him sitting in his soiled clothes for 2 hours.
Order. All rise. All rise, please. Jones, please. Judges, number 36 on the calendar in the matter of Cooper versus Campbell. All parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Well, this case presents a serious problem that a lot of working people have, especially working moms, who have to find appropriate daycare for their children. According to this complaint, Ms. Campbell, you hired the plaintiff to take care of your children while you were working.
That's correct.
How long did she care for your children?
I believe a little over 2 years. I'm not exactly sure.
And how many children did she care for?
She cared for 2 of my children. I have only 2 children.
How old are they? Your son, who's 5.
My son is 5, and my daughter, who's here today as a witness, she is 7.
And there came a time when you became dissatisfied with her service. According to your answer, terminated the service. But according to your complaint, she did not pay you for the last month. Is that correct?
Correct.
Which was $450.
Correct.
So, let me hear what happened.
I provided a service to Mrs. Campbell for the month of April. There had been problems previously for months with her son having uncontrollable bowel movements, and I had suggested several times on occasion for her to have him evaluated, and she disregarded that.
Oh, that's not true.
Just a second.
And you know it.
According to these papers, Ms. Cooper, you were aware of the fact that her son had some serious problems.
Right.
What kind of problems does he have?
My son is learning disabled. We believe he has ADHD, and also he's been diagnosed with stress-related seizure disorder.
And according to your papers, he did have a couple of grand mal seizures.
He's had 2 grand mal seizures. The first occurred the first day of preschool. The second occurred in Carrie Cooper's residence.
And the ADHD is attention deficit
hyperactivity
attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Correct.
And you were aware of that he had
yes.
these problems. So he soiled himself while in your care.
Right.
Twice.
Twice? No, this has been going on. It was
No,
like...
it was the 3rd time. It was the 3rd time.
It was more than 3 occasions.
No, it wasn't.
Don't interrupt me. So what happened on the day that precipitated this
was
lawsuit?
at 3 p.m., April 30th. I proceeded to call Kathy at her place of employment.
At 3 o'clock, the little boy soiled himself.
Right.
And you called her at her job.
Yes.
What
and
time
asked-
does she usually come to pick up the children?
5 o'clock.
Okay.
So I proceeded to ask her if she can make arrangements for somebody to come pick him up.
No, you didn't.
Listen, I'm going to get to you in a second.
I called her, notified her of the problem, asked if somebody could come pick him up. I didn't have another diaper to change him or a change of clothes. She said he would have
Miss
to
Campbell,
stay like that.
you're not helping yourself.
Okay.
Okay?
He would have to stay like that until she got there. At which time, I put him in the hallway because I have tile there. I have carpet everywhere else. I put him in the hallway to wait for his mother.
How did you put him in the hallway?
I just had him sit on the floor in the hallway.
Well, describe this place to me.
Okay, my front door, then the hallway, then you go into my living room. The hallway is all tile. And I had him sit there instead of the carpet so my carpet wouldn't get soiled.
Do you have any children?
Yes, I do. I have 1 child.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
How old?
5.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Why didn't you take off those soiled clothes from the little boy? And at least for the 2 hours that he was waiting, why didn't you put on a pair of your daughter's overalls, something?
I just did when I called her and asked her to come get him, I did what she told me to do.
No, Miss Cooper, I'm talking about humanity. I'm not talking about what she told you to do. She called her at work and you said somebody has to come and get him. Well, this is, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not easy on a moment's notice to get somebody to come over and pick up the boy. These were children that you had watched for 2 years. You have a child of similar age, who I'm sure has a pair of sweatpants, because girls always have sweatpants, just like boys do. Take off the diaper or the pull-ups that he was wearing. I don't know, burn them, do whatever you want to do with them. And in the meantime, until she gets there, put something of your daughter's on. Why couldn't you do that? Instead of putting him out in the hallway.
Since I started watching the kids, he was potty trained. I never agreed on changing diapers. She knew of the problem. She knew that I wasn't going to do that. That's why every time it happened, I called her at work, and either her husband or herself would come pick him up.
What do you mean you never agreed? Children have accidents.
I understand that.
And you mean if a child has an accident, you don't take care of that?
Yes, I do.
Well, and so what was the problem here? If you wanted to terminate this and say, listen, after today, I'm not taking care of him anymore, I could understand that. My problem, Ms. Cooper, is it's very traumatic for a child. I know I've had children, and it's very traumatic for a child to be left that way, humiliated in a hallway alone. A 5-year-old has the cognitive ability to understand what you're doing. It seems to me there's a certain lack of humanity in not taking care of the problem and then saying, at the end of the day, Miss Campbell, I can't, I won't, I don't want to take care of your children anymore because this is a problem that I don't want to have to deal with.
I had told her that 2 weeks prior to that.
But still, you continue to take care of the children, right?
Right.
But you can say, I'm not going to do it anymore without taking it out on the child. The child is the one who's traumatized. She may feel very badly about her son, but it's the child himself who's left with that feeling, that terrible moment of being in a hallway because he soiled himself, especially when he has the kinds of problems that this little boy has. Who's wrong? All right, Miss Campbell, I see you're real upset.
I want to tell you, first of all, she handed me his clothes in a clean bag. The difference between the other two incidents and this, he was wearing a pull-up. All she had to do was take off the pull-up and clean him up, put his clean clothes back on him. She's lying. Those clothes were in a bag. My daughter's here. She knows the story. When I walked up, he was standing by the front door. The neighborhood children had gathered, and they were laughing at my son. I will never in my life forget the look on his face.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My son is going into therapy June 19th for what she did to him, okay? It wasn't a safe environment at all.
And later today.
You owe me my money. Are you, you gotta pay me.
Well, I'm not gonna pay you because you still owe me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Bennett Campbell says her babysitter, Carrie Cooper, neglected her 5-year-old son, and so she refuses to pay the fee.
He was standing in the hallway like she said, but you could see him. I could see him in the corner with his head down. When he came out to me, his pull-up had been on him for 2 hours. It was sagging. He had only a t-shirt on. She had just bagged up his clean clothes because she simply did not want to deal with the situation.
Those weren't clean clothes.
They were clean clothes.
Shh, sir.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I had to say something.
Well, then you step up here. You want to come up here and say something? I'll hear you.
They were not. They were soiled clothes from days
Stop.
before.
Miss Campbell, I want you to say anything.
She doesn't bring diapers. She had bring clothes before, but they had been soiled in prior. That's why they were in a plastic bag.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Tom.
Tom what?
DeLeo.
Mr. DeLeo. You were home when this happened?
Yes.
You have children, sir?
Yeah, her daughter's my daughter.
You know how protective people are of their children?
Yes, I do.
Miss Campbell is protective of her child. You are particularly protective of a child who has a disability.
We were protective of her kids, too.
No, Mr. DeLeo. You're not protective of a child, sir, if you don't take care of that child.
Well, it's
in
not
the same way that you would take care of your own child, and you would not leave your daughter in that situation. And if you would not leave your daughter in that situation, you don't leave a child entrusted to your care in that situation.
I want to say, when she made that phone call to me, if I had known that my son was going to go through this, you better believe I would have picked him up. I never intended for this to happen to him.
Had you always paid her on time?
Yes, yes, ma'am, I did.
And you paid her at the end of the month?
Yes.
For the preceding month?
Correct.
Now, you know that she took care of, by the way, did you report this incident?
Yes, I filed a police report, which I have a copy. Tom DeLeo is also involved. I want to explain to you this. When my children got into the car, both of them at the same time told me, Mommy, Tom hit Josh in the head. Tom hit Josh in the head. Then Josh told me, no, you know what? Jenna's going to tell you. Then Josh told me his feet hurt, and that's when I asked him, were you in the corner all this time? And Josh said yes. I have filed reports with community care licensing. I have filed a police report. I have filed a police report. Child abuse registry is currently investigating that. Anaheim Police is awaiting their report.
Okay, well, that's a good idea. What's your name?
Jenna. Jenna.
Jenna? Is your name Jenna? I have a little granddaughter whose name is Jenna. She's 2.5. Jenna, would you like to come up here and talk to me for a minute?
Watch your step. See you, Jenna.
Hi.
Hi.
Jenna, do you remember that day when your brother had a problem? Yes? Well, would you tell me what happened? You look at me and tell me.
Well, I came to my babysitter's house. She picked me up from the bus stop, and then we had to do my homework, me and my friend, and then we ate our snack, and then we played the monkey game, and then it was time for Joshua to get up. And then
He had been sleeping?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he did an accident.
While in his pants while he was sleeping? Okay, so what happened then?
And then Carrie put him in the corner for 2 hours, and then he told me that...
Who's Carrie?
She.
She. That's Carrie. She put him in the corner?
And then he told me that Tom hit him in the head because he hit Ashley on accident.
Oh, so that Tom hitting him on the head had to do with an argument that their little girl was having with your brother. So he said he hit him on the head because he hit Ashley. Joshua hit Ashley. I see. It didn't have anything to do with him soiling his pants that he got hit in the head, right? Is that right? Good. Anything else you want to tell me? Has it always been okay at this babysitter's for you? Up until this happened? She's a pretty nice babysitter? Yeah. She takes care of you okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You never had any complaints before, did you? No? You have a new babysitter now? You like the new babysitter? Want to go back to your seat? Okay. Okay, so at least we found out about this hitting on the head. It didn't really have anything to do with
No,
this
but how
incident.
appropriate is it to hit a child with stress-related
Kathy,
seizure
I
disorder
never
in the
hit
head?
Josh in the head.
listen.
No way.
Listen.
That's what my children told me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have nightmares over what my Joshua went through for 2.5 hours. You're pathetic and you make me sick.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Bennett Campbell says her babysitter, Carrie Cooper, neglected her 5-year-old son, and so she refuses to pay the fee.
This was an unfortunate incident.
Extremely.
I absolutely agree with you. But it appears from what your daughter has said, and even what you have said to me previously, that this was a babysitter that you had used for 2 years and who had taken good care of your kids. I don't think you would have left your children with her if she didn't. I find, Miss Cooper, that your behavior on that day was really inexcusable. The issue is, does that mean that you don't have to pay her for the whole month? And you do, because that was your arrangement. You have to pay her for the month that she watched your children. I certainly think that you did the appropriate thing by issuing the reports that you did, because I think that her actions were callous in what you did with your boy. She exercised very poor judgment. I'm telling you that you exercised very poor judgment. But this is a court of law. You had a contract. Your contract provided that you were supposed to be paid $450 for watching these children. You would watch them for an entire month prior to this incident. So the judgment in this case is simple. It's for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope you're proud of what you did to my son.
Step out the back, go to your right, please.
I think you're pathetic, and I think you should not be watching children, and I think you better take some parenting classes, and you need to find some compassion.
parenting classes.
Oh, honey, I'm in parenting classes to deal with the problems my son has because
son
of you.
had problems before
That's correct,
me.
and you knew about it. You knew.
Parties on Richardson versus Amos. Step forward, please.
29-year-old dancer Denise Richardson says she loaned her brother-in-law, Lavasta Amos, $95 to rent a truck, and he never paid her back.
All right, Miss Richardson, you say that Mr. Amos owes you $95. You want to tell me how that came about, please?
I don't know about it in March. My niece called her father asking me to help.
Your niece?
My niece.
That's
My
his
sister-
daughter?
My sister's daughter, yes.
Okay. This is the father.
Yes.
Your niece called you and said...
Asked me if I could rent a rider truck for them to move. So it was
For
just
whom?
for her father and her.
Okay.
And it was just for me to put it on my credit card, for them to just have a deposit, you know, to hold the truck, and then they were supposed to make the payment.
They were supposed to pay in cash?
They were supposed to pay in cash, yes, ma'am.
So you said?
No problem. I went down. I had to sign, show my ID. He wasn't present, but his wife, Tammy, was. I said, are you sure you're going to pay? She said, yes, we're going to pay. We're going to bring the truck back this evening, and we're going to pay. So I had to go to work, and I went ahead and left the matters in their hand.
So they put the $95 on your credit card, and they never paid for it in cash?
Yes,
How you doing?
Yes?
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. Let's get down to business. Do you owe this lady $95?
Yes, I do.
So why are you here?
Well, basically, it's like that happened when I did have the money. She wasn't in town. She was out of state. So I ended up spending the money. So when she came back, I told her.
Just a minute. You rented the truck.
Yes.
And you had the money.
Yes.
In cash.
Yes. No, not at the time that she rented the truck.
That's what you told me.
So then you got the money.
You're right.
How much later did you get the money?
It was about a week later.
So why didn't you send it to her?
I didn't have her address for her. Plus, when I had the money, she was gone out of state.
Actually, the money was supposed to be paid that day. The credit card was only to hold the truck because you can't get one without a credit card. He was supposed to pay that day, either that night or the next morning they dropped off the truck.
No, because I told her I didn't have the money, because if I did, I would have gave her the money that day.
If that was the case, I would have never let him rent a truck on my credit card, knowing he may have done that to me.
If she knew
I assume you have the money today. Listen, I assume you have the money today.
No, I do not.
Well, you better get it. Do you work?
Yes, I do. But she owed me.
She owes you for what?
Well, back on March the 22nd, or at the end of March, my daughter babysitted her kids. Her kids got out of hand one time, and they was just basically running in and out the dining area where my cabinet was, and they ended up breaking my champagne glasses for a wedding.
That was never, I never did know anything about it.
I told her about it.
March?
And yes, when Toya kept the kids that day.
Just a second.
And I told her that the glasses cost $150. It was our wedding champagne. It was engraved with her name on it and everything. She said she was going to pay me back.
This is all new to me. I've never even heard this.
Mr. Amos, that really has no, you can't set off, sir. What you're looking to do is set off the champagne glasses for the $95 that you owe her. Let me tell you this. If
it has nothing to do with that. I mean, you know, it's like she said she was going to pay me. That's just like the same thing I'm supposed to pay her. I'm going to pay her and she ain't paying me.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, I want to tell you something. I'm not deciding that lawsuit with the broken champagne glasses, but if I was deciding that lawsuit, this would be my decision. Pay careful attention. Your daughter, who is how old?
She's 16 now.
She assumed the responsibility of taking care of these two children. It was her responsibility to see to it that the two children were supervised at all times, and if there was anything in the house that could be broken or whatever, it was her responsibility to see to it that those things were out of harm's way. Do you understand?
Yeah,
if
but
she
I had told her kids several times to stay out the dining area. They were supposed to be in the play area.
Then what you have to do is tell your daughter, who would assume the responsibility for those children, to take the children outside. Do you understand?
But it was at night.
Hey, Mr. Amos, you got an answer for every question. You owe her the money. Period. End of discussion. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $95. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out the back to your right.
Hello mọi người nha, chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại channel review trên kênh YouTube của mình nha. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ review cho mọi người một sản phẩm, đó chính là một cái chậu hoa cúc giả dùng để trang trí bàn làm việc hay là văn phòng nha. Đây thì cái chậu hoa cúc này